Chapter 103. Your injuries will be healed in a few days. If there's nothing else, just lie down obediently. I'm going out to collect herbs. As she spoke, Shenlong also stretched her small waist and conveniently displayed her good figure as she spoke in a soft and indifferent voice. Miss Shun, you're leaving the valley? Seeing that Shenlong was planning to leave the Forgotten Valley, Fei Ren was stunned for a moment. His face instantly turned serious. His injuries had not fully healed, and he could only move his body. He was still unable to mobilize the energy in his dantian. If he encountered any danger, he would not be able to protect himself. Any body refinement realm martial artist could easily kill him. Although the Forgotten Valley was a Shunlan's territory, there was no telling when Shenlong would return after she left. If someone accidentally barged into the Forgotten Valley, Fei Ren's situation would be worrisome again. He did not want to experience this feeling of near death a second time. Don't worry, you're such a coward. I'll be back soon. Moreover, the Forgotten Valley is not as simple as you think. There are little poisonous creatures that I've carefully raised in the valley. There's also a formation set up by my father outside. Even a high-star realm martial artist would not be able to enter. Seeing Fei Ren's sudden, serious expression, Shenlong covered her mouth and chuckled. She seemed to have expected Fei Ren's reaction and immediately explained. That's good. Miss Shan, take care. Come back soon. Heaving a sigh of relief, Fei Ren lay back on the bed and obediently stayed still. In any case, he could only lie in bed for the next few days and wait for his injuries to recover. Since there was a formation set up outside Forget Worry Valley, and there were also the nameless poisonous insects that Shenlong raised in the valley, he had nothing to worry about. After Shenlong left, Fei Ren also tried to circulate the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture to speed up the recovery of his injuries. After close to a day of rest, he could already circulate some of his energy. However, he was still unable to use his martial arts. Moreover, his only second-grade spirit treasure, the Demon Slayer, was also destroyed in the battle with Chao Shun. Sigh, what a loss, when he thought about how the Demon Slayer was reduced to scrap metal and how he did not even get to pick up Chao Shun's spirit ring. Fei Ren's heart ached. After all, he had been taking advantage of others all these years and rarely suffered such a loss. He even almost lost his life. I didn't expect Senior Shintianjun to be an alchemist as well. Looking in the direction where Shenlong left, Fei Ren fell into deep thought. The Tao of Array was mysterious and profound. Array Master was an occupation that was on par with alchemists and weapon refiners. They were respected and worshipped by tens of thousands of people on the Xian Star continent. It was rumored that some Array Masters could set up powerful arrays that could withstand hundreds of thousands of elite soldiers. There were many types of formations. There were killing formations, defensive formations, and even maze formations and illusion formations. Each formation had a different effect. They were divided into 4 grades: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. Each grade was further divided into low grade, mid grade, high grade, and top grade. Among them, the top grade Heaven grade formation was the most powerful. Although Fei Ren had never seen the power of a formation, he had heard of it. For example, some ancient sects and families in the Black Star continent had passed down their sect protection formation since ancient times. It was extremely powerful. Senior Shun Tianjuan's formation can't be broken even by high-level Star Realm experts. It must be of a high grade. Exhaling softly, Fei Ren struggled to straighten his body. At the same time, he circulated the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture and began to slowly heal his injuries. In the vicinity of Azure Sun County City, the most powerful martial artists were the president of the Purple Sun Chamber of Commerce and the sect master of the Wind Martial Sect. Both of them were high-level Star Realm experts. Even they could not break through the formation outside the Forgotten Sorrow Valley. It was enough to show how powerful Shun Tianjun was. An alchemist, a formation master, and a martial artist. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Fei Ren would have found it hard to imagine that there was such a genius in the Dacha dynasty. After all, to become an alchemist and a formation master required extraordinary talent, comprehension, and mental strength. It was already very difficult for ordinary martial artists to cultivate their origin power, let alone increase their mental strength. Shenlan is also an alchemist who specializes in mental strength. Moreover, she has mastered the 5 poison scripture. I reckon that ordinary middle and joint realm martial artists are no match for her. Thinking of this, a strange expression appeared on Fei Ren's face. As everyone knew, alchemists were not weak mortals. Some alchemists with powerful mental strength could even easily kill martial artists who cultivated origin power. Moreover, there were also some alchemists in the Black Star continent who cultivated rare mental martial arts that could also kill people without leaving a trace. If I can cultivate my mental strength and become an alchemist, I won't need to worry about money. After sighing with emotion, Fei Ren immediately stopped daydreaming and began to wholeheartedly operate the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture to heal his injuries. Although he did not have a method to cultivate his mental strength, Fei Ren was not discouraged. His body had merged with the immortal, refining divine Cauldron, an immortal treasure. After going through the cleansing of his muscles and marrow, whether it was his talent, comprehension, or mental strength, they were not bad. In the future, when his cultivation was successful and he found a method to cultivate his mental strength, it would not be a problem for him to become an alchemist. After all, putting aside mental strength, every alchemist was accumulated with a large number of medicinal materials. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. A few hours later, Shenlan also returned with a full load. There were more strange medicinal materials in the basket in her hand. Because she had collected new medicinal materials, she seemed to be busy refining the pill formula. At this time, Shenlan did not chat much with Fei Ren. After changing the new medicine and bandages for Fei Ren, she turned around and returned to her room. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren did not say anything. After all, the other party was his savior. Moreover, he himself wanted to recover from his injuries as soon as possible and leave the Forgotten Worry Valley. I still want to become stronger. Suddenly, a cold purple-robed figure flashed across his mind. Fei Ren could not help but clench his fists, his expression firm. Although it felt very good to live alone with a great beauty in the Silent Valley, Fei Ren was not a person who was greedy for love. He had more important things to do, and that was to continue to become stronger and wash away the shame of the past. A mere Bloodblade sect leader, Chao Shun, could force him into a desperate situation. At this time, Fei Ren was also very clear in his heart that with his little strength, he was nothing. The purple-robed woman who came to the Iron Palm sect back then was even far above the High Star realm. Unknowingly, 3 days passed by in the blink of an eye. After spending a short period of leisure time with Shenlan, where they did laundry and cooked together, as well as going out to gather medicinal ingredients, the injuries on Fei Ren's body had completely healed. Moreover, there was not even a trace of sequelae or hidden injuries. My injuries are completely healed. In the courtyard of the bamboo house, Fei Ren waved his fists. Every strike was fierce and powerful, and he could not help but be overjoyed. This idiot, looking at Fei Ren in the courtyard with a silly smile on his face, Shenlan also quietly leaned against the door of the bamboo house with her hands crossed in front of her chest. A trace of speechlessness flashed across her pretty face. It seems that this lady's 5 poison treasure book has improved a little. Back then, when she saved Fei Ren, besides out of pity, Shenlan also wanted to test her medical skills. It was precisely because of this consideration that she did not hesitate to pay a huge price to soak Fei Ren in her own 5 poison medicinal wine. Moreover, Fei Ren's appearance was delicate and pretty, and his face was temporarily white. In the outside world, he would be a handsome man. As the saying goes, a young girl yearns for love. No young girl of 18 years old would reject a handsome man. Not to mention that Shenlan had always lived deep in the valley and did not have much contact with the outside world. Therefore, she also brought the seriously injured Fei Ren back to the Forgotten Worry Valley to heal his injuries. Chapter 104. In addition to my injuries being completely healed, Even my vitality cultivation is showing signs of a breakthrough. I didn't expect the 5 poison medicinal wine that little girl Shenlong gave me to soak and would be so magical. Withdrawing his fist, Fei Rin gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air with a surprised expression. He could clearly feel that his dantian in his abdomen was filled with boundless vitality. Moreover, this boundless vitality was like a tsunami attacking the bottleneck of the realm, as if it could break through at any time and step into the 4th level of the middle combine boundary. This lady's 5 poison medicinal wine is fused with many rare herbs. You cultivate vitality, so naturally you will benefit a lot. Just as Fei Run was about to circulate his cultivation method to break through, Shunlan's faint laughter came from behind him. Miss Shun, thank you for saving my life. I will definitely repay you in the future. Looking at Shunlan, who was still beautiful in front of him, Fei Rin touched his nose and grinned. These days, he also had to thank her for taking care of him. Otherwise, his injuries would not have healed so quickly. Not to mention his vitality cultivation was once again on the verge of a breakthrough. You don't have to thank me. It's also because I helped you heal your injuries that this lady's mastery of the 5 poison treasure book became more skillful. This time, you owe this lady a favor. Sticking out her tongue, Shunlan revealed a mischievous expression, which was a little cute. Although her impression of Fei Ren was not very good at first, after a few days of contact, Shunlan also found that Fei Ren was actually not that annoying. Other than being a little greedy and being afraid of death, he was essentially a good person. Right? Are you leaving the Forgotten Worry Valley? As if gradually getting used to being accompanied by someone. Seeing that Fei Ren's injuries had completely healed, Shunlan could not help but open her mouth to ask. Of course, my current strength is too weak, and I need to constantly improve and become stronger. Last time, if I did not meet Miss Shun to save me, I might have died. Moreover, the Forget Sorrow Valley is a paradise. Other than you, Miss Shun, there's no one else here. Now that I've completely recovered from my injuries, I'm naturally embarrassed to continue disturbing you. Miss Shun? Nodding his head, Fei Rin said with a resolute expression. All right, let's go then. I don't care anyway. If you continue to stay here, you might get bitten by the little poisonous bugs in the valley one day. If that happens, you'll have to trouble me to save you again. So troublesome, seeing that Fei Run had already made up his mind. Shunlan pouted and snorted softly. Her beautiful face was filled with arrogance. This girl, looking at Shunlan, who had a sudden change in attitude, Fei Rin felt somewhat helpless and sighed inwardly. Miss Shun, we'll meet again if fate wills it. Coughing dryly, Fei Rin cupped his hands again and intended to turn around and leave. All right, dummy, this is for you. At this moment, Shunlan once again called out to Fei Rin. In the next moment, she took out a small bottle of black medicinal pills from her robe. Her beautiful face was solemn. Miss Shun, my name is Fei Rin. Facing the nickname that Shunlan casually gave him, Fei Rin felt somewhat helpless. However, there was nothing he could do. After interacting with Shunlan for a few days, Fei Rin felt like a dummy after being called dummy by her. Who cares? I like to call you dummy. You look like a dummy. Take it. Snorting softly, Shunlan had the demeanor of a domineering young lady. Without any explanation, she stuffed the small bottle in her hand into Fei Rin's arms. Miss Shun, what is this black thing? Shaking the small bottle in his hand, Fei Rin's face was filled with black lines. The pills inside looked like black ink. They didn't look like good pills at all. Instead, they looked like useless pills that had exploded. Ignorant. This is a 4th grade pill that I personally refined, blood decay and bone revitalization pill. This pill can greatly increase the recovery speed of injuries. It is effective for martial artists below the high star realm. It can save your life at a critical moment. What a dummy. With her hands on her hips, Shunlan shook her head in disappointment. She looked at Fei Ren with eyes full of disdain. 4th grade pill. Miss Shun, when did you break through to become a 4th grade alchemist? Just yesterday. Shunlan rolled her eyes at Fei Ren. So, Miss Shun, you're really amazing. Fei Ren touched his nose. Get lost. I won't listen to the flowery words of men like you. The exit of the Forgotten Worry Valley is just in front. If you leave, you won't trigger the formation. I won't send you off." Ignoring Fei Ren's praise, Shenlong pushed Fei Ren out of the bamboo house in the next moment. Then, she turned around elegantly, as if she didn't want to see Fei Ren for a second. Her expression was cold and arrogant. After a while, Fei Ren arrived at the entrance of the Forgotten Worry Valley. Just as Shenlong said, the entrance of the valley was shrouded in mist. It seemed to be some kind of magical formation. Pop! He reached out and touched it lightly. A wave of ripples appeared in the air. It was like some kind of invisible barrier that separated the Forgotten Worry Valley from the outside world. Swoosh! Fei Ren's figure did not stop at all. In the next instant, he passed through the isolation of the array and stepped out of the valley. "Shenlong, I will return to repay your kindness." Looking back at the Forgotten Worry Valley that was shrouded in mist, Fei Ren clenched his fists tightly. His expression was complicated. In the next moment, he rushed out of the mountain range at lightning speed. Forgotten Worry Valley, in the bamboo house. Father once said that the world of martial artists is full of deception. Those men can't be trusted. But why do I feel a little disappointed now? He saw Shenlong fiddling with the medicinal herbs in her hands over and over again. Her beautiful eyes were faintly absent-minded. Damn it, why am I thinking of that idiot again? I still have to go out in the afternoon to pick herbs. No. Suddenly, Shenlong tore the herbs in her hand and stood up. Her face was slightly red. At this moment, her gaze was looking in the direction of the valley where Fei Ren left. She bit her lips slightly. Her expression made one's heart ache. After leaving the Forgotten Worry Valley, Fei Ren did not return to the Azure Sun County city. Instead, he found a remote and quiet place and began to break through his cultivation base. After being soaked in Shenlong's 5 poison medicinal wine, his cultivation base was also on the verge of breaking through. Previously, because of his injuries, Fei Ren deliberately suppressed his cultivation base and did not break through. Now is the best time to break through. Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture. In front of a waterfall, Fei Ren's upper body was naked. Then, his hands formed some kind of sign and began to cultivate. In an instant, his elemental energy surged and wrapped around his body. It was like a pure, white elemental energy field. Its aura was shocking. At this time, he had already scattered lime powder around the waterfall. The smell of the lime powder was very pungent. Ordinary beasts would usually avoid it. As for martial artists and magical beasts, needless to say, if other auras appeared, Fei Ren would naturally be the first to detect it. Chapter 105. Boom! Along with the circulation of the cultivation technique, the boundless yuan power in Fei Ren's body was no longer restricted. It swept out and attacked the barrier of the realm over and over again, as if it wanted to break through the bottleneck and step into the next level. Boom! After a quarter of an hour, Fei Ren's aura suddenly surged. At the same time, a trembling sound came from his dantian. His dantian expanded by a circle and was filled with origin power. He had successfully broken through to the 4th level of the middle unity boundary. It's not over yet. After the breakthrough, Fei Ren's expression suddenly turned sluggish. He could feel that the origin energy in his dantian was still surging violently, like a tsunami that had yet to recede. There was still no sign of it decreasing, and it seemed to be still increasing. Boom! 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 A large amount of origin power swept out. Under the circulation of the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture, he quickly reached the bottleneck of the realm and was only one step away from breaking through. The 5 poison medicinal wine that girl Shenlong made for me is too abnormal. His mind was shocked. Facing such a rare opportunity to break through, Fei Ren naturally did not dare to be negligent. He immediately circulated the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture and continued to break through. Time passed little by little. Fei Ren's cultivation was also rising rapidly. 5th level of the middle unity boundary. 6th level of the middle unity boundary. 7th level of the middle unity boundary. Just as Fei Rin's origin power cultivation successfully broke through to the 7th level of the middle unity boundary, the majestic origin power in his Dantian finally calmed down. Then, it was completely condensed and consolidated without showing any signs of instability. For levels in a row, clenching his fists, Fei Rin's face was shocked. After breaking through to the 4th level of the middle unity boundary, Fei Rin broke through 3 levels in a row. Moreover, his origin power was consolidated without any instability caused by breaking through too quickly. It was enough to see how powerful the 5-poison medicinal wine that Shenlong personally refined was. It was not inferior to a level 5 medicinal pill. Phew! No wonder that girl looked down on Medicine King Lin Feng. Compared to the miracle doctor's daughter, a mere disciple is indeed nothing. Withdrawing from the state of cultivation, Fei Rin gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air with a strange expression on his face. Lin Feng, one of the most famous alchemists in the Dacha dynasty, was known as the Medicine King. If he knew that he was being ridiculed by 2 juniors at the same time, and that he didn't even spare them a glance, he would probably be fuming with anger and vomit blood on the spot. After all, alchemists were very respected in the eyes of many forces, not to mention that the king of medicine, Lin Feng, was the only level 4 alchemist in the Dacha dynasty. Other than Shenlong, who lived in seclusion in the Forget-Worry Valley, there were not many alchemists in the Dacha dynasty who could compare to Lin Feng. Sigh, it's a pity that the Grade 2 spirit treasure, Demon Slayer, has been destroyed. The power of the carefree saber technique will be greatly reduced as a result. He stood up and put on his clothes. Although his cultivation base had broken through, Fei Rin still felt some heartache about the destruction of his spirit treasure. After all, it was impossible to fully unleash the power of saber technique without a good spirit treasure weapon. The carefree saber technique was different from the 5 Mountain King capturing Palm. Although it was only a quasi-level 3 martial art, its power was related to the strength of the weapon. If Fei Rin's Demon Slayer wasn't a Grade 2 spirit treasure when he fought with Chao Shun, but a Grade 3 or even a Grade 4 spirit treasure, he would have been able to cut Chao Shun into 2 with just the carefree saber technique without using the 5 Mountain King capturing Palm as a trump card. It would be as easy as blowing off dust. Therefore, it was obvious that a powerful spirit treasure was very important to a martial artist's overall strength. It was not inferior to a technique or martial art. Forget it, I'll cultivate other martial arts first. How can a living person suffocate to death? It's just a spirit treasure. After shaking his head, Fei Rin's expression returned to normal. He stopped thinking about the spirit treasure weapon and turned to cultivate martial arts. Now, his black tortoise immortality scripture had reached perfection. His Grade 2 martial art, 100 Snake Hands, and quasi-level 3 martial art, carefree saber technique, were both at perfection. The only things he was not proficient in were the traceless snow steps movement technique and the 5 Mountain King capturing Palm. These 2 martial arts were not easy to cultivate and required a high level of comprehension. Fortunately, Fei Rin's body had merged with the immortal refining divine cauldron, an immortal Tao treasure. After undergoing the meridian cleansing, his talent and comprehension were not inferior to the geniuses of the outside world. In fact, they were even stronger. Therefore, it was not too difficult for him to cultivate the traceless snow steps movement technique and the 5 Mountain King capturing Palm. Deep in the dense forest, in an open space. Kill! Fei Rin's figure flitted across the dense forest. His speed was as fast as the ghost shadow perplexing track. In the next moment, he raised his hand and blasted out a huge brown palm formed by essence power. Rumble. The huge palm, formed by essence power, had a series of overlapping images of mountains. Its imposing manner was like a rainbow. In an instant, it tore apart the dense forest and huge trees below. The rumbling sound was endless. At the same time, the surroundings were left in a mess. Swish! His figure steadily landed on the ground. Fei Rin heavily exhaled and then slowly withdrew the essence power in his palm. His delicate and handsome face revealed a trace of joy. The five-mountain king capturing Palm has finally reached the initial stage. Moreover, the traceless snow steps movement technique has also broken through to the initial stage. With my current strength, even if I encounter an expert at the 10th stage of the middle and high boundary, I will not be afraid. His fists quietly clenched under his sleeves. At this moment, Fei Rin's heart suddenly surged with boundless confidence. This was the change in mentality brought about by the increase in strength. In Xianxing continent, martial arts were revered. As the saying goes, one's fate is up to oneself and not the heavens. If one wanted to completely control one's own fate and become the so-called person above others, one had to continuously cut through the thorns and step through the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. After ending his cultivation state, Fei Rin did not choose to return to the Azure Sun County City. Instead, he had a new plan. The Azure Sun County City was no longer able to accommodate him. A true dragon could not be hidden in shallow water. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to go to a wider world. In the deep forest, Fei Rin's figure was as straight as a sharp sword. He quietly stood on top of a huge tree. At this moment, his gaze was looking in the direction of the Azure Sun County City. His eyes were deep, and no one knew what he was thinking. Northern Desolate County, Yi City. Suddenly, a light flashed in his eyes. Fei Rin's expression instantly became firm and resolute. Northern Desolate County was the largest county in the Dacha dynasty and had the strongest strength. Yi City was the central city of the Northern Desolate County. In the Dacha dynasty, its importance was second only to the imperial city. At the same time, it was also a military city in the northeastern border of the Dacha dynasty. It was heavily guarded by the imperial court. As a large county in the northeastern border, the overall strength of the martial artists in the Northern Desolate County was slightly stronger, second only to the imperial city. This was because the northern border was hostile to the Dacha dynasty. In addition, the Dongling province was eyeing the Dongling province covetously. In order to resist the occasional invasions of the Dongling province, everyone in the Northern Desolate County practiced martial arts. Unlike the imperial family of the Dacha dynasty, the ruler of the Dongling province was not the imperial family of the dynasty. Instead, it was an 8th grade sect, the Sky Sword sect. As an ancient sect that had been passed down for hundreds of years, the Sky Sword sect foundation was much stronger than the Dacha dynasty's Chu clan. Moreover, in the past battles between the Dacha dynasty and the Dongling province, the Dacha dynasty had always been at a disadvantage. Even the current emperor, Chu Tianyang, was no match for the sect master of the Sky Sword sect. It was rumored that the sect master of the Sky Sword sect had already stepped into the third realm of the martial body. He was a genuine martial master expert. Although the Dacha dynasty was at a disadvantage in the process of fighting against the Dongling province, there were still several countries in the vicinity and the barbarians in the southwest. Even a country as powerful as the Dongling province did not dare to invade everywhere. After all, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Chapter 106. Even though the Darchu dynasty was located at the edge of the southeast region of the Xianxing continent and was located at the edge of the Hengduan mountain range, there were many neighboring countries. Besides the East Spirit Kingdom, which was the most powerful, there were also the Western Chang Kingdom, Fuyao Kingdom, and Beigong Kingdom, a total of 5 countries. Among the 5 countries, Western Chang was the weakest. Its ruler was an ancient family with a background comparable to the 9 ranks of the great families. As for Fuyao and Beigong, they were ruled by sections. Their background was comparable to that of an 8th rank sect. They were on par with the Chu clan that ruled the Dacha dynasty. With my current strength, I'm still not qualified to leave the Dacha dynasty alone. Yi City of the Northern Barren Province, I'm coming. After making up his mind, Fei Rin leaped into the distance. His body was as agile as a spiritual ape, and his speed was very fast. No matter how fierce the competition between the Dacha dynasty and Dongling province was, it had nothing to do with Fei Run. Now, he only wanted to quickly increase his strength and find the purple-robed woman who had slaughtered at the Iron Palms sect to avenge his humiliation. Fairy of the Night Devil, just you wait, you bitch. Fei Ren's face was determined. The purple-robed woman was a martial arts expert. In her eyes, he was just an ant in the body refinement realm that she could kill with a raise of her hand. However, as time passed, he was now a martial artist in the 7th level of the Middle Unity realm. He was far stronger than before. Fei Ren knew that he was not a match for the purple-robed woman with just this bit of cultivation. However, he had the immortal refining cauldron in his body. As long as he had enough time, the purple-robed woman, who was known as the Night Devil Fairy, would still have to submit to him. Northern Baron Province was the largest province in the Dacha dynasty, second only to the Imperial City. There were many martial artists, rogue cultivators, and merchants coming and going. It had always been an important fortress of the Dacha dynasty in the north. 500 miles away from the city, there was the Imperial Army, the Steel Corps, with many elite soldiers. The Steel Corps was the same as the Jin King Chu Wen's Iron Armor Corps. They were all elite troops of the Dacha dynasty, with hundreds of thousands of soldiers and horses. They were disciplined and brave. The only difference was that the Steel Corps was not under the jurisdiction of the Imperial Court, but under the direct command of the Chu Emperor, Chu Tianyang. They were Chu Tianyang's personal guards. In front of the Northern Baron Province, in front of a swamp covered in fog, Fei Ren's body was in a flash, and he stopped. As long as I cross this swamp, I should be in the territory of the Northern Baron Province. After traveling for nearly 3 days and 3 nights, he finally left the Azure Sun County and arrived at the border of the Northern Desolate County. Along the way, other than encountering some magical beasts, Fei Ren didn't encounter too much trouble. Moreover, he also casually killed some bandits who made a living by murdering and robbing people, making a small fortune. Originally, Fei Ren did not have any extra belongings on him. Other than the blood and bone reviving pill that Shenlong gave him before he left, there were only some miscellaneous items and clothes left in the spirit ring. However, after killing some bandits who did not know their place, he gained about 3,000 low-grade vitality stones and a dozen mid-grade yellow rank demon cores. Now, the demon cores below mid-grade yellow rank, as well as the ordinary 1st and 2nd grade herbs, Fei Ren did not care about them. After all, with his current strength, these things were slightly less valuable and would only take up the space in the spirit ring. Gulp! Gulp! The swamp in front of him was shrouded in thick fog. Although it was called a swamp, it was actually a gray grassland. There was no lack of mud ponds and patches of dry black soil, but most of the gray grassland was still muddy swamps, accounting for about 80% of the area. Looks like this place is not that easy to pass. Fei Ren looked around. There was thick fog everywhere, and there was a pool of strange black swamp water under his feet. There was also an inexplicable sense of danger in the air. This swamp was the famous foggy swamp around the Northern Baron Province. There were many powerful demon beasts called armored crocodiles living in it. An adult armored crocodile's demon aura was at least high yellow rank, which was equivalent to a middle Unity Stage 8 human warrior. Because of the danger of the foggy swamp, most warriors would choose to avoid this place and take the long way to enter the Northern Baron Province. However, there was no lack of warriors who chose to take the risk and cross the foggy swamp, but most of them were not strong enough and ended up as food in the stomach of the armored crocodiles. Swoosh! With a leap, Fei Ren directly flew toward the foggy swamp, and then his figure completely disappeared in the thick fog. Although the foggy swamp was very dangerous, Fei Ren did not panic. Although the armored crocodiles were powerful, they were only high yellow, ranked demon beasts. With his current strength, it was more than enough to deal with them. Unless he was unlucky and encountered a group of armored crocodiles, then he might have to avoid them. Fei Ren's current origin power cultivation was at the middle Unity Stage 7. If he attacked with all his strength, he could easily kill an ordinary high yellow ranked demon beast with one palm. It was as easy as blowing off dust. Even if the armored crocodiles in the foggy swamp were very fierce, they would still not be able to escape death. Roar! Fei Ren's figure was seen shuttling back and forth in the foggy swamp. After a while, he broke through more than half of the swamp and arrived at the center of the swamp. At this time, a deafening beast roar suddenly shook from the depths of the swamp, causing people's ears to tremble slightly. It's finally here. Narrowing his eyes, Fei Ren's figure suddenly stopped. At the same time, strands of powerful origin power emerged from his palm. His gaze looked straight ahead with a serious expression. Splash! Splash! Suddenly, a commotion came from the swamp below Fei Ren's feet. In the next moment, mud splashed, and a huge crocodile with pitch-black scales and a head like a copper furnace suddenly broke out of the water. Its long tail was incomparably sharp, and there were even barbs hanging from it. Its bloody mouth made people's heart palpitate. Roar! Once again roaring, this armored crocodile swung its body and stared at Fei Ren with a pair of muddy yellow beast eyes. The muddy beast eyes flickered with a fierce, killing intent. It was full of bestiality, as if it had been lurking in the depths of the swamp for a long time. This beast, it's really targeting this young master. Courting death. Looking at the armored crocodile that suddenly appeared in front of him, Fei Ren's expression was normal. It was as if he had expected it and was not surprised. Crash! Crash! As if sensing the extraordinary origin power undulations from Fei Ren's body, the armored crocodile was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, it slowly floated around Fei Ren. Its eyes were filled with bestiality, as if it was waiting for the opportunity to kill its prey in one strike. 5 Mountain King capturing palm. Fei Ren coldly snorted. Seeing the cautious attitude of the armored crocodile, Fei Ren decided to make the first move to gain the upper hand. His feet lightly tapped on the ground and instantly charged towards the armored crocodile opposite him. At the same time, he raised his hand and blasted out a huge palm formed from yuan power. In the middle of the palm, the shadow of a mountain appeared. Chapter 107. Boom! The elemental energy palm cut through the air and heavily smashed onto the armored crocodile's body. Immediately, blood splattered everywhere. The sturdy scales of the armored crocodile were torn apart, revealing its flesh and blood. At the same time, puddles of blood gushed out and dripped into the swamp. Poochie! Walla Walla! After receiving Fei Ren's powerful palm head-on, the armored crocodile let out a painful roar. Then it twisted its body and instantly dived into the muddy swamp below. It seemed to have suffered a serious injury and did not dare to come out again. After all, the armored crocodile was a high-grade yellow-rank magical beast. Its defensive power was even stronger than ordinary magical beasts. The pitch-black scales on its body could be considered a second-grade spirit treasure. Therefore, after receiving Fei Ren's 5 Mountain King capturing palm, it did not die and only escaped with serious injuries. If it was any other high-grade yellow-rank magical beast, if it dared to face Fei Ren's 5 Mountain King capturing palm head-on, it would definitely die. There was no possibility of survival. TSK, what a tough skin. The scales of the armored crocodile are indeed something. After repelling the armored crocodile with one palm, Fei Ren frowned slightly. He did not choose to pursue further. Instead, he continued to fly towards the outside of the foggy swamp. After all, this was the territory of the armored crocodile. He could easily kill 1 or 2 armored crocodiles, but if he encountered a group of armored crocodile beasts, it would be troublesome. His elemental energy cultivation was only at the 7th level of the Middle Union realm. The elemental energy in his Dantian was not endless. There's a situation. After speeding along the foggy swamp for a while, Fei Ren's face was slightly surprised. At the same time, he raised his eyes and looked towards the northwest not far away. There, he suddenly felt a large amount of elemental energy fluctuations and the aura of magical beasts. Moreover, Some of the elemental energy fluctuations were very weak, as if they were on the verge of death. The fog has dissipated. There are traces of a battle between humans and magical beasts. Moreover, the elemental energy aura here has not dissipated. It seems that it's not far ahead. Circulating the black tortoise immortality scripture, Faerun immediately spread out his yuan energy to investigate his surroundings. Soon after, he discovered that there were still yuan energy auras around him that had yet to dissipate. Moreover, there were also deep muddy pits in the swamp nearby. Even the thick fog that pervaded the misty swamp all year round had somewhat dissipated. Obviously, a fierce battle had just taken place here. Let's go take a look first. Who knows, we might be able to get some benefits. Withdrawing his essence force to investigate, Faerun pondered. Looking at the current situation, there was a high probability that some martial artists were attacked by armored crocodiles, and there were quite a number of them. Schwa! After making up his mind, Faerun also activated traceless snow steps. His speed increased a little as he flew towards the northwest of the foggy swamp. Roar! 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 At the side of a muddy swamp, 7 or 8 bodyguards dressed in tight clothes were holding weapons. At this moment, they were gathered together in a defensive formation. The surrounding swamp had long been surrounded by aggressive armored crocodiles with red eyes. There was simply nowhere to escape. Only the mournful roars of beasts could be heard from within. The atmosphere was tense. Young master, young miss, what should we do? We've been surrounded by this group of beasts. Looking at the aggressive armored crocodiles with their bloody mouths wide open, a bodyguard in tight clothes spoke in a hurried tone. A trace of fear involuntarily flashed across his face. His elemental energy cultivation was only at the 5th level of the Middle Union stage, while the surrounding armored crocodiles were practically all adults. They were genuine yellow, rank, high-level magical beasts, and their strength was comparable to a martial artist at the 8th level of the Middle Union stage. They were simply not something that a mere bodyguard like him could contend against. Damn it, we actually encountered a group of armored crocodiles. If I had known earlier, I would have listened to Father and taken a detour. At the center of the crowd, there were 2 young martial artists, 1 male and 1 female. The young man wore a blue robe and held a folding fan in his hand. At this moment, his pale face also revealed a trace of uneasiness and regret. The young man's elemental energy aura had already reached the 8th level of the Middle Union stage. His strength was not bad, but it was still not enough to deal with the enormous group of armored crocodiles in front of him. At this moment, there were at least 20 armored crocodiles surrounding them, and it was not a small group of beasts. Brother, what do we do? I still don't want to die. Woo-woo. Beside the young man, there was a delicate and pretty girl in green clothes with a petite figure. Perhaps due to the life and death crisis in front of her, the girl in green clothes had already been scared to the point that her face turned pale. At this moment, her charming face was looking at the young man beside her in panic. Her pair of beautiful eyes were in a daze. Unlike the young man, the girl in green clothes cultivation was somewhat weak, only at the 3rd level of the Middle Union stage. If it were not for the surrounding guards and the young man's protection, she would have already been buried in the belly of the armored crocodiles. Naturally, she was terrified. Lily, don't worry. Even if brother dies, I will send you back to the family safely. Glancing at the girl in green clothes beside him, the young man clenched his teeth and comforted her. A trace of determination and decisiveness flashed across his pale face. These people all came from the Chung family, a first-rate force in Yi City of the northern desolate province. The young man's name was Chung Zhoquan, and he was the young master and young patriarch of the Chung family. In the future, he would inherit the great business of the Chung family. As for the girl in green clothes beside him, she was Chung Zhochuan's younger sister, Chung Lily. Originally, Chung Zhoquan and Chung Lily did not plan to cross the foggy swamp. However, the foggy swamp was the only way to reach Yi City. In addition, the journey was more daunting than dangerous, and there were no magical beast attacks. The 2 of them became bolder and relied on the fact that they had many guards with them to cross the foggy swamp directly back to Yi City. However, they were very unlucky. Chung Zhoquan and Chung Lily were attacked by a group of armored crocodiles on their way back to Yi City. Many of their guards died in battle, and some of them even died in the stomachs of the armored crocodiles. At this time, only 7 or 8 people survived. It really is a group of armored crocodiles. What's wrong with these people? They know that this place is dangerous, but they still dare to come in and die. Are their lives worthless? After a while, Feiren also hurried to the swamp. He looked at the Chung family who were surrounded by the group of armored crocodiles not far away. Then, he was stunned, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. He seemed to be speechless. Fine, let them do me a favor. Seeing that the Chung family was in a critical situation and that they could be wiped out at any time, Feiren also spat out a mouthful of phlegm. In the next moment, he leaped toward the group of armored crocodiles. Although Feiren did not want to meddle in other people's business, the Chung family who were surrounded seemed to be from Yi City. Yi City was the center of the northern desolate county. There were all kinds of forces in Yi City, and there was no lack of first-rate forces. If he could save these people, he could also get some benefits and do them a favor. Roar! The two sides were in a deadlock for a long time. Suddenly, an armored crocodile seemed to be unable to suppress its wild beast nature. It roared loudly and rushed toward a guard in the group. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a disgusting stench. Chapter 108. Evil Creature, You're Courting Death. Seeing the armored crocodile charging at him, Chung Zhoquan glared angrily. He leaped out and circulated his origin power. He waved the peach blossom folding fan in his hand and forced the armored crocodile to retreat. At the same time, the armored crocodile fell into the muddy swamp and let out a mournful cry. Ugh! Although the armored crocodile's attack was repelled, its sharp fangs still pierced through a nearby guard. The guard's entire arm was bitten off, and blood flowed out nonstop, revealing his pale flesh and bones. At this moment, his face was pale. Walla walla! Although Chung Zhoquan had forced back an armored crocodile, it was of little use. There were still more than 20 armored crocodiles surrounding them. Their eyes were glaring at them covetously, emitting a blood-red color that made people uneasy. Other than Chung Lily, Chung Zhoquan and the guards were not weak. Most of them were above the 4th level of the middle unity boundary. As high yellow rank magical beasts, the group of armored crocodiles in front of them were not low in intelligence. They were only waiting for an opportunity to attack and were not in a hurry to swarm them. If it were a group of body refinement realm martial artists, the group of hungry armored crocodiles would have already swarmed them and torn them into pieces, becoming food in their stomachs. Young Master, you and young Miss leave quickly. We'll help you cover the rear. Reaching out to cover his bleeding broken arm, the injured guard's expression was grave as he spoke in a hurried tone. The injured guard's origin power cultivation was at the 6th level of the middle unity boundary. Although it was not weak in the outside world and could barely be considered an expert, it was still not enough to face the high yellow rank armored crocodiles. Not only were the armored crocodiles ferocious, but they also had extremely hard scales and skin. Their defense was astonishing. Among the people in front of them, the only one who had the strength to kill the armored crocodiles was Chung Zhoquan. The guards under him could only temporarily protect themselves against the armored crocodiles. After a long battle, they would undoubtedly die. As for Chung Lily, who was only at the 3rd level of the middle unity boundary, there was no need to say much. Leave. How? These beasts clearly won't let us go. We can only fight our way out. Chung Zhoquan's eyes suddenly widened. Faced with the dissuasion of his subordinates, he shouted loudly. He knew that he was in deep danger and could only fight. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, another 2 armored crocodiles opened their bloody mouths and flew towards the crowd. Although the armored crocodiles' bodies were huge, their speed was not slow. Moreover, their long tails had sharp barbs, and their lethality was comparable to a spirit treasure. A blood-curdling scream rang out, and in the next moment, an injured guard was heavily swept by the armored crocodile's tail. Finally, he fell into the swamp at the side. Then, a few armored crocodiles swam over and devoured him. Blood was everywhere, and not even a bone was left. The scene was extremely horrifying. Bastard! In a rage, Chung Zhoquan also exploded with all his strength. He waved the peach blossom folding fan in his hand and instantly shot out dozens of yuan power ribbons. Like sharp arrows, they repelled a few armored crocodiles that intended to approach. Crash! Crash! Facing the imposing Chung Zhoquan, the group of armored crocodiles at the side also slowly retreated and then dived into the swamp at the side. However, they still did not retreat and only stared at the Chung family covetously. Damn it, could it be that the heavens want me to die? Although temporarily repelling the attack of the armored crocodiles, Chung Zhoquan's momentum was not as strong as before. It seemed that the yuan power in his body had been greatly exhausted. Brother, look! Just when the atmosphere was heavy and anxious, Chung Lily, who was originally pale, exclaimed. At the same time, her jade-like finger pointed to a place not far away. What? Hearing the voice, Chung Zhoquan turned his head and stared. He only saw a gray figure appear out of thin air. In the next moment, it flew out of the group of armored crocodiles. He saw that the gray figure had a delicate and handsome face, sword-like eyebrows, and starry eyes. His entire body was engulfed in boundless yuan power. With a palm strike, he neatly repelled the group of armored crocodiles that originally surrounded the Chung family. At the same time, he left behind a few bloody beast corpses. What a mighty appearance, like a god descending to earth. It was Fei Run. What a powerful guy. At this moment, Chung Zhoquan only had this thought in his mind. As the young patriarch of the Chung family in Yi City, he started cultivating yuan power at the age of 8 and stepped into the middle unity realm at the age of 23. Now, at the age of 28, he was already at the 8th level of the middle unity realm. However, compared to the gray figure in front of him, he was incomparable. Bastard! Die! In the thick fog, Fei Run shouted again. Yuan power surged out of his palm, and a huge yuan power palm blasted out in the air. In the middle of the yuan power palm, a mountain range was imprinted. It was as if the 5 mountains had descended and the mountain god reigned supreme. In an instant, 2 more armored crocodiles were beheaded. The originally indestructible scales were also torn apart, and blood flowed like a river. Roar! Intimidated by Fei Ren's powerful strength, the group of armored crocodiles that originally surrounded the Chung family roared again and again. Soon after, they scattered and retreated to the periphery of the foggy swamp. Your Excellency has good martial arts. Seeing this scene, Chung Zhoquan could not help but shout. Fei Ren's strength had moved him. You flatter me. Who are you people? How could you mistakenly enter the foggy swamp? The strength of these armored crocodiles is not weak. With your strength, aren't you just courting death? After forcing the group of armored crocodiles to retreat, Fei Ren gently let out a breath. Soon after, he leaped and arrived in front of Chung Zhoquan with a calm expression. Although the strength of Chung Zhoquan's bodyguards was not bad, they were far inferior to the armored crocodiles. Not to mention, there was also a burden. Chung Lily's yuan power cultivation was only at the middle joint realm 3rd level. She was also a woman. Facing such a dangerous situation, she naturally could not play a role. Therefore, Fei Ren's words were not without reason. Your Excellency must be joking. It's hard to explain in a few words. However, I still thank Your Excellency for saving us. I'm eternally grateful. Hearing this, Chung Zhoquan also cupped his hands. His pale and handsome face revealed a trace of embarrassment. It seemed that he was unwilling to talk about it. I heard that the Chung family of Yi City is a first-rate force. Your surname is Chung. So you are from the Chung family? With a look of enlightenment, Fei Ren immediately opened his mouth. If he could be on good terms with a first-rate force, he would also gain a lot of benefits. This transaction was not a loss for him. That's right. We are from the Chung family of Yi City. Thank you for saving our lives. This is my elder brother, Chung Zhoquan. As soon as he finished speaking, Chung Lily also stepped forward. She seemed to still be in a state of shock. She took the opportunity to bow to Fei Run in front of her to express her gratitude. There were faint traces of tears on her egg-like face. It was obvious that the attack of the group of armored crocodiles was not light. My younger sister, Chung Lily. Her nature is playful. Her cultivation is mediocre. Please excuse me. May I know your excellency's name? Glancing at Chung Lily beside him, Chung Zhoquan shook his head. Then, he once again cupped his hands to Fei Run. His tone was calm. I am Fei Run. This trip was just convenient. Prince Chung, Miss Chung, you don't have to be so courteous. Grinning, Fei Run raised his hand to indicate that the two of them did not have to be so courteous. His expression was as calm as ever. Chapter 109. Brother Fei is indeed a hero of the age. His strength is unfathomable. Chung Zhoquan was stunned when he realized that Fei Ren's cultivation was only at the 7th level of the middle unity stage. Then, he sighed and spoke with a tone of envy. After all, Fei Ren was only 17 or 18 years old, but he was already at the 7th level of the middle unity stage. Moreover, his strength was far beyond ordinary warriors. Even the armored crocodile horde was forced to retreat by him. This was enough to show how powerful Fei Ren was. In terms of cultivation, Chung Zhoquan was one level higher than Fei Ren. However, when facing the armored crocodile horde, Chung Zhoquan could only protect himself and could not retreat. This was also the difference in strength between him and Fei Ren. Prince Chung, you don't have to flatter me. I've just arrived in the northern wilderness county and am not familiar with the situation in Yi City. Fei Ren smiled and looked at Chung Zhoquan. There seemed to be a hidden meaning in his words. That's easy. If Brother Fei doesn't mind, you can stay with my Chung family for a few days. I will do my best to entertain you and not let Brother Fei down. Hearing this, Chung Zhoquan was also a smart person. He immediately waved his hand and said, there was no free lunch in the world. Now that Fei Ren had saved the siblings, it would be unreasonable if he did not want some benefits. Moreover, Fei Ren was a powerful young genius. If they could befriend such a hero, it would be beneficial for the Chung family in Yi City. Yes, our Chung family is quite famous in Yi City. If Father knows that you saved us, he will definitely reward you greatly. Seeing that Chung Zhoquan had extended an invitation to Fei Ren, Chung Lily, who was at the side, quickly wiped away her tears. Her tone was cheerful, as if she had forgotten about the life and death crisis she had just experienced. She had once again regained her youthful appearance. As you wish. Nodding, Fei Ren followed the Chung family back to Yi City. Brother, do you think Father will blame us? We lost so many family guards this time. As they walked, Chung Lily turned to look at Chung Zhoquan, who was beside her. She looked worried. Originally, when they left the clan, there were 20 of them, but now, only 6 or 7 of them returned. The majority of the Imperial bodyguards were buried in the belly of the armored crocodiles. It could be said that the losses were disastrous. Even if the Chung clan was a first-rate power, losing more than 10 Zhonghe realm experts in one go would be a great blow to their vitality. After all, middle and high realm martial artists were not cabbages that could be found anywhere. Moreover, the bodyguard of the Chung family were all experts at middle and high realm 5th stage and above. They were more or less the backbone of the Chung family. There's nothing I can do about it. It's already good enough that I'm able to come back alive. This time, when I go back, I'll ask Father for forgiveness. Reaching out to touch Chung Lily's head, Chung Zhoquan had a doting expression on his face. He then sighed. These two are really interesting. Looking at their personalities, they don't seem like siblings at all. Following behind the group, Fei Ren also raised his head to look at Chung Zhoquan and Chung Lily in front of him. His expression was thoughtful. Although they were siblings, Chung Zhoquan was much older than Chung Lily. There was a difference of nearly 10 years between them. Chung Lily was only 18 years old, but her cultivation base had already reached middle and high realm 3rd stage. It seemed that her talent and comprehension were not bad, but her temperament was somewhat weak. In the face of a life-and-death crisis, it was difficult for her to display her full strength. "Young master, young lady, we've arrived at East City." At this moment, a guard shout came from the front of the group. In the next moment, a huge, ancient city appeared in front of them. It was majestic. Just the city gate alone was dozens of feet tall. The entire city was built with limestone and could be said to be indestructible. That's the central city of the northern desolate province, Yi City. Looking at the ancient and majestic Yi City not far away, Fei Ren's eyes were filled with shock. He then sighed inwardly. Compared to Azure Sun County, Yi City was at least twice as big. Moreover, its scale and grandeur could not be compared to the former. As expected of the Dachu dynasty's northwestern city, it was second only to the imperial city. At the same time, it attracted countless martial artists and loose cultivators to train here. No wonder Dongling Province has always been at the border of the Dacha dynasty. Yi City is really a place that the military must fight for. If we can take down this city, there will be plains to the south. A large number of troops and horses will be able to sweep through the peace and desolation and directly attack the imperial city of Chu. After observing Yi City's geography and importance, Fei Ren also took a deep breath. His expression gradually became solemn. He didn't care about the strife between countries and dynasties. But the Darchu dynasty was the place of his birth after all, and he wouldn't watch on helplessly as the citizens of the Darchu dynasty suffered the invasion of foreign enemies and perished. Moreover, if the Dacha dynasty was annexed by Dongling Province, then Fei Ren's hometown, Wuhan Town, would also suffer. There was still someone in Wuhan Town that he cared about. It was the cute and stubborn girl that he had entrusted to her. Ting Ting, if fate wills it, we will probably meet again in the future. As if recalling the scene of parting with the Iron Palm Gate, Fei Ren smiled. Then he shook his head and followed the group toward Yi City. Yi City, Chung Family Hall. Why aren't Quan Air and Lily back yet? At this moment, a middle-aged man in a black robe was anxiously pacing back and forth. His expression was serious, as if he had a lot on his mind. "Master, young master and young miss are back." After a few breaths, a guard in a tight suit stumbled in from the door. He then knelt on one knee and hurriedly spoke. His tone was somewhat breathless. "Quan Air and the others are back." As his voice fell, the middle-aged man in the black robe's figure flashed and arrived in front of the guard. A trace of joy appeared on his determined face. His originally tightly furrowed brows also relaxed, as if he had heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. "Yes, master." Young master and young miss also brought a young man back to the family. He said that he was their friend and even saved their lives. Facing the middle-aged man in the black robe in front of him, the guard hurriedly lowered his head. His face was filled with fear and trepidation, as if he was afraid of the other party's might. "Friend," to be able to make Quan Air take the initiative to befriend him, it seems that this person is quite interesting. Hearing this, the middle-aged man in the black robe gently stroked his long beard with a slightly surprised expression. As the head of the Chung family, he knew his children very well. Chung Zhouquan was one of the famous young geniuses in Yi City. He was also the young master of the Chung family. Not to mention that he was young and full of vigor, he was also quite arrogant. Someone who could make him take the initiative to befriend was definitely not weak. "Master," seeing that the middle-aged man in the black robe did not say a word, the guard cupped his fists again, as if waiting for the other party's next order. "I know, you can leave first." Glancing at the guard who was kneeling on one knee, the middle-aged man in the black robe waved his hand and said indifferently. The dignity of a superior was on the verge of erupting, causing people to involuntarily bow their heads. "Yes, master." This subordinate will take his leave. As if he had been pardoned, the guard hurriedly cupped his fists and respectfully said, then quietly left. The middle-aged man in the black robe in front of him was called Chung Batian, and he was the current master of the Chung family. His strength was unfathomable, and he had already stepped into the high star realm. As the pillar of the Chung family, a first-rate force in Yi City, Chung Baishan's words were naturally obeyed in the Chung family. Chapter 110. Yi City, Chung Family Hall. Father, I'm back. Not long after the guards left, Chung Zhoquan also stepped into the hall. He cupped his hands and bowed to Chung Batian in the middle of the hall. His tone was humble and his expression respectful. I'm Fei Run. Greetings, Senior Chung. Following Chung Zhoquan's footsteps, Fei Run also stepped into the hall. However, compared to Chung Zhoquan's respect, Fei Rin was much calmer. He only cupped his hands and bowed. His attitude was that of a junior facing a senior, and his expression was neither servile nor overbearing. You're the friend that Quan Er made? Nodding, Chung Batian turned to look at Fei Run. His expression was full of interest. You flatter me. Prince Chung and I could be considered to have met by chance. Grinning, Fei Run shook his head. You don't have to be humble. You're a hero for having a cultivation base at the 7th level of the Middle Union realm at such a young age. Moreover, in the same level of cultivation, even the younger generation of Yi City can't compare to you. Seeing Fei Ren's humble attitude, Chung Batian stroked his long beard. His tone revealed a hint of playfulness. As a dignified expert of the High Star realm, Fei Ren's cultivation base naturally couldn't escape his eyes. Moreover, Fei Ren was only 17 or 18 years old, and he had already stepped into the 7th level of the Middle Union realm. It would be more than enough for him to break through to the High Star realm in the future. Moreover, for Chung Zhoquan to be able to make friends with such an outstanding young genius like Fei Ren was a good thing for the Chung family. Therefore, Chung Batian was naturally gratified. However, due to the prestige of his senior, he didn't express it too obviously. Father, your son is useless. More than half of the guards who follow me out were killed or injured. Now, only a few of them have returned. Seeing that Chung Batian and Fei Run were chatting happily, Chung Zhoquan pursed his lips. He looked like he wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the next moment, he gritted his teeth and spoke in a disappointed tone. What? Upon hearing this, Chung Batian's expression changed slightly, and his eyes widened. Quan Er, what's going on? Previously, in order to protect the safety of Chung Zhoquan and his sister, when the two of them left Yi City, he specially sent over a dozen Middle He realm bodyguards from his clan to accompany them. Moreover, these bodyguards were all experts of Middle He realm 5th layer and above. Now, more than half of them were dead or injured, with only a few returning. How could Chung Batian not be angry? It's not easy being a young master. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren also sighed inwardly. Then, he consciously took a step back. It was naturally not good for him to interfere with the family matters of the Chung family. Father, when we were returning to Yi City, we crossed the fog swamp and were unexpectedly attacked by a group of armored crocodiles. These beasts have strong magic power, and there were more than 20 of them. In order to protect me and Lily, most of the bodyguards bravely died in battle and became food for the armored crocodiles. At the critical moment of life and death, it was because of Brother Fei Ren's help that we were able to break out of the encirclement of the armored crocodiles and successfully return to Yi City. Pausing, Chung Zhoquan's face was full of bitterness. Then, he looked at Fei Run and could not help but lower his head. After all, the decision to cross the fog swamp this time was made by him. The fog swamp was home to a large number of yellow rank, high-level magical beasts, armored crocodiles. This was something that Chung Zhoquan knew in his heart. Moreover, if he was willing to take the long route back to Yi City, his bodyguards would not have died in battle because of him. Therefore, Chung Zhoquan also felt a trace of self-blame in his heart. I have already warned you not to take any chances. This time, you were lucky to be attacked by a group of armored crocodiles and someone came to your rescue. But what about the next time? Relying on your little bit of cultivation strength to be arrogant. Sooner or later, you will die in the hands of others. As his voice fell, Chung Batian stepped forward and gave Chung Zhoquan a slap. His face was full of anger, and his tone was harsh and helpless, as if he was in a fit of anger. Father's reprimand is right. After being slapped by Chung Batian, Chung Zhoquan's originally handsome and white face was left with a trace of bright red. It was burning with pain, but he did not dare to show any dissatisfaction and lowered his head again. After all, this time, he caused the family to lose a lot of battle strength, and his own sister almost died. All right, where is Lily? Is she all right? A little girl like her, why didn't she stay in the family and cultivate properly? Why did she have to run around with you? After venting for a while, Chung Baishan's anger subsided a little. Then, he opened his mouth again. His tone was a little slow, but his face was still stern. Sister is fine. She has already returned to her room. This time, I specially brought Brother Fei Run to report to you, Father. Seeing that Chung Baishan's anger had subsided, Chung Zhouquan felt as if he had been pardoned and immediately spoke up. That's good. This time, it's all thanks to little Brother Fei Run. The Chung family owes you a favor. Hearing this, Chung Batian also sighed. Then, he looked at Fei Run beside him, and his expression softened. You flatter me, Senior Chung. Although there are armored crocodiles living in the fog swamp, they rarely move in groups. Previously, Prince Chung and the rest were attacked by a group of armored camp soldiers. It can only be said that they were unlucky. It was a matter of luck. And in the end, we were able to break out of the encirclement because Prince Chung and his group of guards also contributed a lot. Cupping his hands, Fei Rin smiled faintly and did not deliberately announce his strength. If Chung Batian in front of him knew that he had forced back more than 20 armored crocodiles alone, who knew how many teeth would fall out of his mouth? After all, with a mere 7th level Middle Union Realm cultivation base, fighting against an entire group of armored crocodiles alone was simply unheard of. It could be called a miracle. With Fei Rin's current strength, he could even fight against a 10th level Middle Union Realm expert. As long as a high-star realm expert did not appear, no one could do anything to him. Oh, very good, very good. But you saved Quan Air and the rest. The Chung family has always been clear about gratitude and grudges. I don't know what reward you want. Hearing this, Chung Batian nodded meaningfully and spoke again. Finally, it's the main event. As soon as his voice fell, Fei Rin secretly praised himself in his heart. After talking so much nonsense, they finally talked about the reward. After all, saving people for nothing and not getting any benefits in the end was not like his character. The Chung family is a first-class force. It is my honor to be able to make friends with Prince Chung. As for the reward, after hesitating for a moment, Fei Rin finally opened his mouth. Senior Chung, everything is up to you. The Chung family was a first-class force in Yi City and had a strong foundation. Chung Batian in front of him was a high-star realm expert. Fei Rin did not want to ask for too much, so as to avoid making Chung Batian unhappy. After all, this was someone else's territory. If he was too greedy, he might invite trouble. Good. Little brother, you are very honest. But I, Chung Batian, am not a petty person who haggles over every little thing. You saved Quan Air and Lily, so the reward will definitely not be low. How about this? I have a medium rank spirit ring with 500 low-grade origin stones. I will give it to you now. How about it? After laughing out loud, Chung Batian took out a medium rank spirit ring that shone with silver light from his sleeve and handed it to Fei Rin. His determined face had a stern smile, and he seemed to be in a good mood. Chapter 111. Middle Grade Spirit Ring, 500 Low-Grade Primordial Stones. Seeing Chung Batian so generous, Fei Rin's eyes also lit up. After all, 500 low-grade primordial stones was not a small amount. If exchanged for low-grade primordial stones, it would be at most 50,000, enough to support him to break through to the 8th stage of the Middle Unity Realm. Compared to low-grade spirit rings, mid-grade spirit rings had more storage space and were also worth a lot on the black market. Thank you, Senior Chung. Cupping his hands, Fei Rin also grinned and immediately accepted the spirit ring without the slightest trace of politeness. As a veteran high-star realm expert, the other party was shrewd. Naturally, he would not make a loss. This time, it was rare for him to take out such a large sum. It was obvious that he had taken a fancy to his talent and strength and wanted to rope him in. As for Fei Rin, he had just arrived in Yi City of the Northern Desolate Province and did not know much about the situation in Yi City. Being able to be on good terms with the first-rate power of the Chung family was also a great benefit. After all, his strength was not yet great. If he encountered a high-star realm expert, it would be difficult for him to contend. Fei Ren was not afraid of those below the high-star realm and could easily kill them. However, the gap between a true high-star realm expert and a middle unity realm expert was quite large. Even if he had the Black Tortoise immortality scripture and the 5 Mountain King capturing palm, he still did not have a high chance of winning against a high-star realm expert. After a martial artist stepped into the high-star realm, not only would the Dantian's primordial energy be greatly enhanced, but it could also be shaped and condensed into various weapons at will. Its power was comparable to ordinary spirit treasures. Once a martial artist broke through to the high-star realm, the strength of their physique would greatly increase. Although it was not invulnerable to water and fire, it could be said to be invulnerable. It was not inferior to the southern barbarians who cultivated their physique. This was also the huge gap between the high-star realm and the middle unity realm. In the vast Black Star continent, there was a rumor that those below the 3 stages of martial body were ants, and those below the high-star realm were all weeds, weaker than ants. My road is still long. Fei Ren put away the mid-rank soul ring and the low-rank yuan stones into his bag. A trace of determination flashed across his face. Currently, he was merely a small martial artist at the 7th stage of the Middle Union realm. He had not even stepped into the high-star realm. That mysterious purple-robed woman who had appeared in Wu and town could easily kill him, let alone leaving the Dacha dynasty and roaming the Xian star continent. Brother Fei, this is a small token of my appreciation. At this moment, Cheng Zhouquan took out a small bottle of pills and handed it to Fei Ren. There's an unexpected gain. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren was stunned for a moment. Then, he reached out and caught the bottle with a puzzled expression. Prince Cheng, what kind of pill is this? The pill in the bottle was completely red. In the center of the bottle, there was a faint red line rolling up and down like a thin dragon. At the same time, it emitted a burst of pill fragrance, causing people to be unable to help but feel relaxed and happy. It was quite strange. It seemed to be a high-grade pill. 4th-grade pill, Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven Pill. The corner of Cheng Zhouquan's mouth rose, and he revealed a proud expression, as if he was proud of this pill. This Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven Pill came from the hands of the Medicine King, Lin Feng. It was refined using dozens of precious medicinal ingredients and the magic core of the yellow rank top magical beast, the demonic dragon tiger. The success rate is low, but the medicinal effect is very strong. After consuming it, one can directly break through their cultivation without any instability or side effects. However, this pill can only be consumed once in a martial artist's life. After consuming it multiple times, it will lose its medicinal effect. Previously, Father gave me 2 Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pills, so I'll give the remaining 1 to Brother Fei. After laughing for a long time, Cheng Zhouquan also withdrew the peach blossom fan in his hand and explained unhurriedly. Medicine King, Lin Feng. So this Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill was refined by that deceiving fellow. Looks like it's not bad. Squinting his eyes and looking at the Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill in the bottle, Fei Ren's face couldn't help but reveal a trace of admiration. I wonder if this Medicine King, Lin Feng, or that little girl, Shenlan, is stronger. Although Shenlan had said that this Lin Feng's character wasn't good, his alchemy skills were not bad. As a top 4th-grade alchemist, Lin Feng could be considered famous in the alchemy world of the Dacha dynasty and was deeply favored by the Chu royal family. Because of this, it was very difficult for ordinary martial artists to ask for a pill refined by Lin Feng. Although Cheng Batian was the head of the Cheng family, a first-rate force in Yi City, and himself was a high-star realm expert, it was very difficult to get these 2 Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pills from Lin Feng. Such a precious pill. Prince Cheng, how can I accept it? After coughing a few times, Fei Ren's expression gradually returned to normal, and then pretended to decline. Accept it. You are a friend of our Cheng family, now and in the future. Seeing Fei Run decline, Chung Batian beside him also spoke indifferently. His words revealed a domineering aura that couldn't be refused, as if the dignity of a superior had also appeared at this moment. Since that's the case, then I'll accept it. After the pleasantries, Fei Ren didn't decline anymore. He once again cupped his hands towards Chung Zhoquan and Chung Batian. For these few days, Brother Fei will temporarily stay with the Chung family. As the host, I want to properly entertain you. There are many fun places in Yi City. I think you haven't seen them yet. Seeing Fei Ren accept the Red Dragon mysterious heaven pills, Chung Zhochuan's gloominess in his heart was swept away. He waved his fan and smiled. Having made friends with such a powerful young genius, his face was naturally much more dignified. Prince Chung is in such a good mood, but I still have some things to do, so I need to leave first. Next time, nodding his head, Fei Ren cupped his hands again and turned to leave. After all, compared to strolling around, he had more important things to do. Quan Er, what do you think of this person? After Fei Ren left, Chung Batian also stroked his long beard. Then, he looked at Chung Zhoquan and said with a meaningful tone, Father, this person is very strong, and his talent and comprehension are not inferior to any of the young geniuses in Yi City. Even I am far inferior to him. However, to be able to become friends with such a top genius, even if the Chung family doesn't soar in the future, at least it won't decline. Facing Chung Batian's probing, Chung Zhoquan also lightly shook his head. A dry smile appeared on his delicate and fair face, as if he knew his own limits. That's right, Quan Er, your thoughts are the same as father's. Hearing this, Chung Batian nodded in agreement. A trace of profoundness flashed across his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking at this moment. Although he had agreed to Chung Zhochuan's invitation, Fei Run was not in a hurry to go out. Instead, he stayed in a courtyard of the Chung family and prepared to break through his cultivation base. Now that he had a grade 4 pill, Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill, and a total of 500 low-grade primordial stones given by Chung Batian, if he did not break through now, when would he? Therefore, Fei Run did not waste time and began to cultivate in seclusion. Although his primordial energy cultivation base was progressing rapidly, it was still lacking compared to the disciples of the ancient noble families of the Dacha dynasty, as well as the disciples of some powerful sections. After all, Fei Run did not have any family or sect background. He could only rely on himself and the divine Immortal Cauldron. Just like the young master of the Chung family, Chung Zhoquan, as a direct descendant of a first-rate force, was only 28 years old and had a cultivation base at the 8th level of the Middle Unity boundary. If he did not have the divine Immortal Cauldron and various opportunities, Fei Ren would not be able to catch up to him even if he cultivated for a lifetime. This was the difference in the starting point of martial arts cultivation. Chapter 112. In a room in a courtyard of the Chung family, Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill. It's up to you. Fei Ren quietly laid a crimson pill in his palm. In the next moment, he raised his head and swallowed it. As the pill entered his body, a huge wave of heat instantly filled his entire body, as if he was in a furnace, extremely hot. What a powerful medicinal strength! As expected of a grade 4 medicinal pill, Fei Ren's expression slightly changed. In the next moment, he hurriedly circulated the black tortoise longevity scripture and began to gradually absorb the majestic medicinal power of the Scarlet Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill. The Scarlet Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill was one of the rarest grade 4 medicinal pills. The purity of the medicinal power contained within it was also incomparable to that of ordinary medicinal pills. Not long later, under the nourishment of the Red Dragon Mysterious Heaven pill's medicinal strength, Fei Ren's Dantian Yuan energy also gradually overflowed. Very quickly, he reached the edge of the bottleneck of the realm and was only a step away from breaking through. That medicine King Lin Feng had only secretly learned a little, and his alchemy level is already so high. The quality of this red dragon mysterious heaven pill is already infinitely close to a grade 5 medicinal pill. I wonder how powerful Senior Shun Tianjun, who was known as the miracle doctor that day, is and what rank of alchemist he is after exhaling a mouthful of turbid air under the stimulation of the powerful medicinal strength of the red dragon mysterious heaven pill. Fei Ren also felt unbearably hot. He immediately took off the clothes on his upper body, revealing his muscular body. At the same time, his originally delicate and pretty face also slightly flushed, and a trace of sweat could be faintly seen dripping from it. The stronger the pill, the greater the test on the physical fitness of the martial warriors. Therefore, to the martial warriors, the cultivation of the Yuan power was the foundation. If one did not cultivate step by step, one would not be able to become a peerless expert just by eating pills. In the Xianxing continent, there was no lack of martial warriors who had swallowed high-level pills, but in the end, their bodies could not withstand the medicinal strength of the pills and exploded. The red dragon mysterious heaven pill that Fei Ren had swallowed contained berserk fire attribute Yuan power. If not for the immortal refining cauldron in his body, he would not have dared to directly swallow it. Boom! After an unknown period of time, the half-naked Fei Ren's body suddenly shook, and then he suddenly spat out a mouthful of foul air. His eyes flickered with a bright light, and at the same time, the aura of origin energy on his body skyrocketed at this moment before finally breaking through the shackles in one go. 8th level of the Middle Union realm. It's done. Joy surfaced on Fei Ren's face as he abruptly stood up. Soon after, he waved his palm and slammed it towards a stone platform outside the house. Palm Chi flew out and instantly shattered the stone platform, turning it into a pile of fine powder. Its power was terrifying. I've finally broken through. Right now, I might not be able to match a level 1 Star Realm cultivator, but I should have no problem running away. As for martial artists below High Star Realm, I don't care about them at all. Retracting his palm, Fei Ren was very satisfied with his cultivation breakthrough. Just now, it was just a casual attack, but its power was comparable to the full force attack of an ordinary 10th level Middle Union realm martial artist. It was enough to show how terrifying his strength had increased. With Fei Ren's current strength, he could instantly kill martial artists below the 8th level of the Middle Union realm in one move. As for martial artists below the High Star realm, he could easily defeat them and even kill them if he used his full strength. It could be said that he was invincible below the High Star realm. It's time to go out and relax. Unknowingly, he had already cultivated for a day and a night in the courtyard of the Chung mansion. Now, dawn had arrived and the earth was beginning to brighten. Creak, pushing open the door, Fei Ren walked out of the house in the next moment. The area of Yi City was very large, and the streets were very lively and prosperous. Merchants and martial artists with stalls could be seen on both sides of the street. There was no lack of 9th or even 10th level Middle Union realm martial artist experts. As for body refinement realm martial artists, they could be seen everywhere like cabbages. This also confirmed a dialect passed down in the Dacha dynasty. The martial artists in the northern Desolate County were much stronger than the other counties of the Dacha dynasty. It could be said that the people here were valiant, and the trend of martial arts was prevalent. Brother Fei, there's a blue and white flower house in Yi City. The performers there are very beautiful, and they're proficient in the 4 arts. Why don't we go and take a look? Chung Zhouquan, who was holding a folding fan, seemed to be a little bored. Then, he glanced at Fei Ren beside him. Prince Chung, we can go to that kind of place anytime. It's still early. Let's go to the market and see if we can find any treasures. Facing Chung Zhouquan's invitation, Fei Ren coughed dryly and then tactfully declined. Originally, he didn't want to go with Chung Zhouquan. However, the other party kept pestering him as if he wanted to rely on him, so he could only nod. As the young master of the Chung family, Chung Zhouquan was also a playboy to the extreme. He was very familiar with the debauchery of Yi City. If it wasn't for the fact that Chung Zhouquan was at the 8th level of the Middle Union realm and had decent talent and strength, Fei Ren would have thought that Cheng Zhouquan was just a playful playboy. It's a pity that Lily didn't pester me to go out with her today. Looks like Brother Fei isn't interested in women. Seeing that Fei Ren wasn't interested, Cheng Zhouquan sighed with a playful expression. The beauty of a performer can't be compared to a fairy. Facing Cheng Zhouquan's teasing, Fei Ren smiled slightly, as if there was a hidden meaning in his words. Looks like Brother Fei already has a sweetheart. Hearing this, Cheng Zhouquan was stunned. Then, he smiled without saying anything. Clearly, he was a smart person. Bitch, it's your fortune that I've taken a liking to you. How dare you resist? At this moment, a commotion suddenly came from not far away. The next moment, it was accompanied by the soft sobbing of a woman. What's going on? Looking over, Fei Ren was slightly surprised. He saw a group of people on the opposite street. In the middle of the crowd, a young girl in plain clothes was sitting on the ground. She was covering her face and crying. Next to her was an old man with a weak aura. It seemed that he was nearing the end of his life. In front of the young girl and the old man, there was a young man in a brocade robe, standing with his arms crossed. His face was fierce, and he had an arrogant and domineering look. Young master, my father is currently suffering from a serious illness and lacks money to buy medicine. Although I have vowed to sell my body to save my father, the amount of money you gave me is not enough to buy medicine. Please don't make things difficult for me. Not daring to raise her head to look at the brocade robe man in front of her, the young girl in plain clothes kowtowed again. Then she sobbed softly. Her beautiful face was already covered in tears, and she seemed helpless and desperate. Not enough. 10 silver taels is more than enough. A bitch like you is only worth this price. If you don't obey, don't blame me for being rude. Glancing at the young girl in plain clothes who was paralyzed on the ground, the brocade-robed man sneered. His tone was mocking, as if he was determined to bully the father and daughter in front of him. The brocade-robed man in front of him was about 20 years old. His cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Middle Union stage. His strength was not bad. On the other hand, the young girl in plain clothes was just an ordinary person. The Yuan power aura on her body was pitifully weak. She was not even at the 4th level of the body refinement stage and did not seem to have learned much martial arts. So it's a disciple of the Lingjian school. I was wondering why this guy was so arrogant and domineering. At this moment, Cheng Zhouquan, who was beside Fei Ren, took a step forward. Then he crossed his arms and said. He seemed to have seen the background of the brocade-robed man, and his face was solemn. Chapter 113. Lingjian School. Hearing this, Fei Ren's face was filled with surprise and a trace of doubt. According to his understanding over the past few days, the famous forces around Yi City were none other than the Cheng family, the Yun family, and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service. These three were all top-notch forces with a long history and a strong foundation. As for the so-called Lingjian School, he had never heard of it. The Lingjian School is one of the 3 major sects in the Dacha dynasty. It's also one of the rare 9 ranks of the great families. It's said that it's been around for hundreds of years and has a strong foundation. It existed long before the Dacha dynasty was established. Moreover, when the Chu family's ancestors established the Dacha dynasty, the Lingjian school seemed to have done a lot of work for them. Thus, it was trusted by the current royal family and the imperial court. Its disciples have always been arrogant and domineering, and have often bullied others, seeing that Fei Ren didn't seem to know much about the Lingjian school. Cheng Zhouquan also gently waved his fan and spoke with a sigh. Although he was the young master of the Cheng family and had a small reputation around Yi City, he didn't want to take the initiative to provoke trouble. Although the strength of this spirit sword sect disciple was mediocre, if he angered the sect behind him, even if the Cheng family was a first-class force, it would still be difficult for him to escape the blame. 9 ranks of the great families. No wonder this guy is so arrogant. But I've never been afraid of anyone. Hearing this, Fei Ren narrowed his eyes. Then, his gaze slowly fell on the man in the brocade robe not far away. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Sigh, what a pity. She actually encountered a Lingjian school disciple. This girl probably won't be able to escape. Yeah, it's just 10 taels of silver. At most, it's enough to eat and drink for a month in Yi City. This Ling Jian school disciple is clearly a bully. That old man had a hard life. He was so poor that he didn't have the money to buy medicine to treat his illness. In the end, he even lost his daughter. TSK, it can't be helped. Ling Jian School is one of the 9 ranks of the great families and is highly valued by the imperial court. Meanwhile, the spectators on the streets grew in number, and for a time, they discussed animatedly while sighing endlessly. They seemed to be sighing with emotion about the tragic fate of this young woman before them. Bitch, don't push your luck. Due to the large number of people around, the expression of the man in embroidered robes from the Ling Jian School changed slightly. Then, he shouted angrily. At the same time, he took out a small bag of money and threw it in front of the plain-clothed girl. His expression was arrogant, as if the plain-clothed girl in front of him was already his. If it wasn't for your good looks and the fact that there are so many people around, I would have done you a long time ago. I wouldn't have to go through the trouble of spending 10 taels of silver. Glancing at the plain-clothed girl kneeling on the ground, the man in embroidered robes sneered. At the same time, he secretly thought to himself, as if he had already planned this. The man in embroidered robes was called Liang Yuan. He was a disciple of the Ling Jian School, one of the 3 great sects of the Dacha dynasty. Although he was only a nominal disciple of the Ling Jian School, his status wasn't high, and his strength wasn't very strong. However, because of the reputation of the Ling Jian School, Liang Yuan was able to make a name for himself in Yi City. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Prince Chung, this brat bullied an innocent woman on the street. His character is vile, and his methods are unbearable. It's not good for us to just watch, right? Seeing this scene, Feiren more or less understood the ins and outs of the matter. Although he turned his head to look at Chung Zhouquan beside him, his tone gradually became more and more fierce. Brother Fei, don't tell me you want to... Sensing the killing intent that flashed across Fei Ren's eyes, Chung Zhouquan was also stunned. Then he widened his eyes. After all, the other party was from the 9th ranks of the great families and had a powerful background. If he took action to stop Liang Yuan this time, it was inevitable that the 9th ranks of the great families would crazily seek revenge. Although the Chung family was a first-rate faction, it was still somewhat difficult for them to bear. After all, the Chung family had just encountered danger in the fog swamp yesterday, and the Chung family had just lost a group of powerful guards. This brat only has a cultivation base of Middle Unity Stage 5. I don't need to do anything. Prince Chung, you alone can easily deal with him and make him disappear from this world. Although Fei Ren was not a busybody, the situation of the plain-clothed girl in front of him resonated in his heart. Once upon a time, his parents died early and he was reduced to a little beggar on the streets of Wuantown. His situation was not much better than the plain-clothed girl in front of him. Even so, he is from the 9th ranks of the great families. I'm afraid, still somewhat hesitant, Chung Zhouquan's expression changed. It seemed that he did not want to cause trouble. A real man is born in this world. How can he be so indecisive? Seeing that Chung Zhouquan was still unwilling to intervene, Fei Ren did not force him. He only shook his head and then flew toward the opposite crowd. Brother Fei. Seeing that Fei Ren left as soon as he said so, Chung Zhouquan was also caught off guard. In the next moment, he also flew toward the opposite crowd with a grave expression. Young master, I really can't do it. I hope that young master will let me and my father go. With tearful eyes, the plain-clothed girl bit her lips. She hesitated for a long time, but still did not agree to Liang Yuan's request. This was because she was very clear that once she agreed to Liang Yuan's request, not only would her father's illness not be cured, she would also be like a lamb in a tiger's den, sullying her body for nothing. Bitch, you dare to trick me. Seeing this scene, Liang Yuan finally could not hold back the anger in his heart. He raised his hand and slapped toward the plain-clothed girl's face. It was full of strength and had already used Yuan power. Anyone with discerning eyes could see that if she was hit by this slap, the plain-clothed girl's frail body would not be able to withstand it and would die. Stop. Suddenly, a man's clear voice came from a distance. In the next moment, Liang Yuan's wrist was forcibly grabbed by Fei Run and stopped in midair, unable to move. At this moment, his face was flushed red and the web between his thumb and forefinger trembled. It was as if he could not use the strength in his entire body. You, who are you? Feeling waves of intense pain coming from his wrist, Liang Yuan's face was filled with shock, and he immediately panicked. Although Fei Run, who suddenly appeared in front of him, looked ordinary, his strength was unfathomable. He was simply unable to see through the Yuan power aura on Fei Ren's body. Moreover, Fei Ren's palm was extremely strong. No matter how Liang Yuan struggled, he was unable to break free. Let me go. Do you know who I am? I'm a disciple of the Lingjian school. How dare you attack me? Are you courting death? Shouting hysterically, Liang Yuan also circulated his Yuan power, intending to break free from Fei Ren's restraint. However, Fei Ren's palm was still as motionless as a mountain. After a while, his entire wrist became red and sore like a pig's trotter. It doesn't matter who I am, but you're going to die soon. Coldly glancing at Liang Yuan, Fei Ren's face was indifferent, and his tone was like a death god that had returned from hell, causing people's hair to stand on end. Killing intent. Baleful aura. Don't kill me. I'm a disciple of the Lingjian school. Let's talk nicely. Young hero, I was wrong. Looking at the cold and ruthless Fei Run in front of him, who was full of killing intent, Liang Yuan's pupils also bulged. His face was filled with fear, and suddenly his crotch became hot. He was so scared that he actually peed on the spot. Only a martial artist whose hands were stained with countless lives could condense such a strong, baleful aura. He was just a small registered disciple of the Lingjian school. He indulged in eating, drinking, and playing all day long. Now that he was facing Fei Run, he was naturally scared half to death. His original arrogant and despotic aura also instantly withered. Chapter 114. Brother Fei, this person is a Lingjian school disciple. If you kill him, I'm afraid it's not appropriate. At this moment, Cheng Zhouquan hurried over with a grave expression. To deal with Liang Yuan, he didn't need to spend much effort. Liang Yuan was merely at the 5th level of middle unity stage, so he could easily kill him. The reason why the opposite party could run amok in Yi City was that he was relying on the name of Spirit Sword Sect's registered disciple, which was why no one dared to provoke him. Prince Cheng, if you don't dare to do it, I'll do it. Glancing at Cheng Zhouquan, Fei Ren's expression was still solemn. Although Liang Yuan was backed by the 9th ranks of the great families, he was different from Cheng Zhouquan. He did not have any family backing him, so he did not need to think too much. Moreover, he did not believe that the 9th ranks of the great families of the Lingjian school would risk their lives just because he killed Liang Yuan. Even if they had to risk their lives, he was not afraid. You dare to kill me? I'm a Lingjian school disciple. The people of Lingjian school will definitely tear you to pieces. Seeing that Fei Ren's killing intent did not diminish, Liang Yuan was completely flustered. He bared his teeth and screamed, as if threatening Fei Run would give him a chance to live. Noisy. Ignoring Liang Yuan's screams, Fei Ren increased the strength in his palm and crushed Liang Yuan's neck in an instant. Then, he threw Liang Yuan's body onto the street. In an instant, the ground was covered in blood. Liang Yuan's face was contorted, and he struggled for a while before he stopped breathing. Dead. This person is decisive and merciless. What a ruthless person. This Liang Yuan is really unlucky. He relied on his status as a registered disciple of the Lingjian school to run amok in Yi City for many years. Who would have thought that he would kick an iron plate and die tragically on the streets? I've heard that the disciples of Lingjian school are all arrogant and domineering. Although this Liang Yuan is dead, it's really satisfying. The surrounding crowd was stunned when they saw this scene, and then they started to discuss animatedly. All of them were shocked by Fei Ren's courage and insight, and everyone had different opinions. Brother Fei, you're in big trouble. Seeing that Fei Run had killed Liang Yuan, Chung Zhoquan also sighed softly. His face was bitter. He had thought that it was a good thing to befriend Fei Run, but he did not expect that Fei Run would be such a sentimental person who would kill him without any hesitation. Now that Liang Yuan had died tragically on the streets, and the Chung family had a good relationship with Fei Run, if the Lingjian school were to pursue the matter, they would not be able to escape responsibility. He's just an ant. So what if I killed him? Fei Run glanced at Chung Zhoquan and grinned disapprovingly. Liang Yuan was indeed a disciple of the Lingjian school, but he was only a registered disciple. Just by looking at his name, one could tell that his status was very low. He did not believe that the 9 ranks of the great families of the Lingjian school would find trouble with him for a mere registered disciple. Moreover, even if the people of the Lingjian school wanted to take revenge, they might not even be able to catch him. Young hero, thank you for saving my life. At this time, the girl in plain clothes, who had been stunned for a long time, also came back to her senses. Then, she stood up and bowed slightly to Fei Ren in front of her. The traces of tears on her pretty face had not yet disappeared, and her cheeks were still red. It seemed that she had been frightened. What's your name? Waving his hand, Fei Ren signaled that the girl in plain clothes did not need to bow, and his face returned to normal. Su Jing, after being stunned for a moment, the girl in plain clothes replied softly with a soft tone. Su Jing, that's a good name. There are some silver in here. Take it to treat your father's illness. In the future, if you have the chance, find a good family to marry. Hearing this, Fei Ren sighed. Then he took out a money bag from the spirit ring and threw it to the girl in plain clothes in the next moment. This girl is indeed beautiful. Unfortunately, she was born in a chaotic world. Thinking to himself, Fei Ren also realized that the girl in plain clothes named Su Jing in front of him was quite beautiful. No wonder Liang Yuan would bully her and want to buy her body for a mere 10 silver taels. Thank you, young hero. May I know young hero's name? In the future, Su Jing will definitely come to repay your kindness. After receiving the money bag, Su Jing also quickly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said with a red face, Repay? Forget it. You're too weak and can't help me much. Seeing that Su Jing wanted to repay him, Fei Ren was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled and shook his head. No, father told me since I was young to repay kindness. Her red lips slightly pouted. In the face of Fei Ren's rejection, Su Jing also shook her head vigorously. Although her tone was still weak, it was filled with stubbornness. Brother Fei, there are too many people here. It's better to leave as soon as possible. Chung Zhoquan, who was beside Fei Ren, hastily spoke out when he saw Fei Ren and the plain-clothed girl, Su Jing, arguing with each other. His tone sounded anxious. Now, although Liang Yuan was dead, the people in the Lingjian school did not know about it. Moreover, the Lingjian school's sect was not located in Yi City. The death of a mere disciple in name would not normally be spread to the higher-ups. If they left as soon as possible, there was still a high chance that they would be safe. Therefore, Chung Zhoquan hurriedly urged Fei Ren to leave, so as to not give rise to rumors and increase the disaster. My name is Fei Ren. If you want to repay my kindness, you can go to Wun Town in the future and find a girl called Chen Tingting. Helping her is helping me. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren did not say anything more. He immediately waved his hand and flew away. Chung Zhoquan also followed closely behind. Wun Town, Chen Tingting, I will definitely. Looking at Fei Ren's leaving figure, Su Jing also gently helped the white-haired old man up from the ground. Her beautiful face revealed a trace of determination, but no one knew what she was thinking. Daughter, the white-haired old man coughed a few times. He seemed to have noticed the change in Su Jing's expression and wanted to say something, but stopped. Father, I'm fine. I'll go get the medicine for you in a while. Gently patting the white-haired old man's back, Su Jing also spoke softly with a gentle tone. 3 days later, in a courtyard of the Chung family. Just a little more, after killing the Lingjian school disciple, Liang Yuan, Fei Ren did not run around. Instead, he stayed in the Chung family mansion and secretly trained. The 500 low-grade yuan stones that Cheng Batian had given him previously had been completely used up by him. Now, his yuan power cultivation was just a little bit away from a breakthrough. Brother Fei, big news. At this moment, a figure flashed past the courtyard. Then, Cheng Zhouquan hurriedly stepped in with a serious expression. The people from the Lingjian school are here to find trouble. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren also stopped his training and looked at Cheng Zhouquan, who had a hurried expression on his face. That's not it. After Liang Yuan died that day, the Lingjian school did not have much of a reaction. Speaking of which, it is strange. The Lingjian school has always been protective. Basically, anyone who angers the Lingjian school will face retaliation. However, this time, there was not the slightest bit of movement. In response to Fei Ren's question, Cheng Zhouquan shook his head. It's very simple. Liang Yuan's status is low and is not worth mentioning. Moreover, the Lingjian school sect is located in the Great Chu Imperial City and not Yi City. The sky is high and the emperor is far away. Moreover, even if the people from the Lingjian school want to kill me, they have to find me first. Fei Ren grinned. It was obvious that he had expected this. Although that's the case, Brother Fei, you should still be careful in the future. After all, the Lingjian school is one of the 3 major sects of the Dacha dynasty. It's hard to guarantee that you won't meet them again. Cheng Zhouquan also nodded his head and revealed a look of deep understanding. All right, what's the big news you were talking about? Fei Ren changed the topic and looked at Cheng Zhouquan again. An ancient tomb has appeared in Qingfa Mountain, north of Yi City. Cheng Zhouquan paused for a moment. His expression changed, and then he said methodically, "An ancient tomb." Just as he finished speaking, Fei Ren narrowed his eyes, and his expression gradually became serious. Chapter 115. Qingfa Mountain was the largest mountain range around Yi City. It stretched for tens of thousands of miles, and there were many magical beasts running amok in the mountain range. It was rumored that there were even profound, rank magical beasts in the depths of the mountain range. They were extremely powerful, comparable to the high-star realm experts of the human martial artists. Therefore, Qingfa Mountain had always been a place for many martial artists, rogue cultivators, and disciples of sects and families to train. That's right, it's an ancient tomb of a martial artist. Although the news was only spread yesterday, it has already attracted many martial artists to Qingfa Mountain, including the Yun family and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service. Cheng Zhouquan nodded heavily and said, "The Cheng family, Yi City's Yun family, and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service were all first-rate forces with a reputation. Naturally, the appearance of an ancient tomb of a martial artist could not be hidden from their eyes. What is the origin of this ancient tomb?" Hearing this, Fei Ren's expression was deep as he looked at Cheng Zhouquan in front of him again. Cheng Zhouquan's cultivation was at the 8th level of the Middle Union realm. That day, he was able to easily repel the attack of a high yellow rank armored crocodile. His strength was not bad. In addition, his strength had greatly increased. If the two of them worked together, they could break into this so-called ancient tomb. I'm not too sure about the details, but I heard that its origin is not small. The owner of this ancient tomb seems to have broken through the 3rd realm of the martial body when he was alive. His strength is far above the high-star realm. With a solemn expression, Cheng Zhouquan sighed with emotion. The 3 realms of the martial body were different from the 3 realms of the mortal body. The 3 realms of the martial body were divided into the martial master, martial spirit, and martial king realms. Once a martial artist broke through to the martial master realm, not only would his strength increase rapidly, but he would also gain the ability to fly, which was countless times stronger than the high-star realm. Even if a dozen high-star realm experts attack together, they might not be a match for a martial master realm expert. The owner of this ancient tomb actually reached the 3rd realm of the martial body when he was alive. His cultivation has always been at least at the martial master realm. No wonder it caused such a huge reaction. Even the powerful forces around Yi City found it difficult to calm down, but Isn't this also a kind of opportunity? Hearing this, Faerun took a deep breath and pondered. At the same time, a bright light flashed in his eyes. Currently, his essence force cultivation was at the 8th level of the Middle Union realm. It was extremely slow for him to break through just by relying on his cultivation technique. Furthermore, he didn't have a large amount of low-grade essence stones on hand. If he wanted to increase his strength quickly, he could only go out to experience the world and search for opportunities. Brother Fei, how is it? The news of the reappearance of the ancient tomb will only spread further and further. When the time comes, not only the martial artists and forces around Yi City, but also martial artists from other provinces and counties will rush over. There's no time to lose. Seeing that Faerun was also interested in the ancient tomb ruins, Cheng Zhouquan urged in a hurried tone, as if he was encouraging the other party to join his team. Of course, how could I miss such an opportunity? Nodding his head heavily, Faerun also clenched his fists tightly. His expression was resolute as he accepted Cheng Zhouquan's invitation on the spot. Cheng Zhouquan was the young master of the Cheng family. His strength wasn't weak. If he went with him, it would be very necessary before he figured out the dangers of the ancient tomb ruins. Moreover, the Yin family and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service of Yi City already knew about the reappearance of the ancient tomb ruins. These two families were well-known first-rate forces in Yi City. If there was any conflict, it would be disadvantageous for Faerun to fight them alone. The Yin family and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service both had high-level Star Realm experts. Although Faerun's strength could be said to be invincible below the high-level Star Realm, it would still be troublesome if he encountered a true high-level Star Realm expert. He could still barely contend against a first-level Star Realm expert. If the opponent was a second-level Star Realm expert, then he could only turn around and run. With the Cheng family's people by my side, it'll also save me some trouble. Thinking this in his heart, Faerun's expression relaxed. Half a day later, just as Cheng Zhouquan and Faerun had guessed, a large number of martial artists, rogue cultivators, and disciples of families and sects gathered at Qingfa Mountain. Even the low-level devil beasts at the periphery of the mountain range were ruthlessly cleared out. Everyone only wanted to rush to the reappearance of the ancient tomb ruins. In front of a valley on Qingfa Mountain, there were many figures and the atmosphere was lively. At this moment, many people had gathered around the valley. However, no one stepped into the valley, as if they were waiting for something. At the same time, there were 3 tall figures standing quietly in front of the crowd. These 3 tall figures had extraordinary auras and powerful origin power fluctuations. They had already reached the level of high-level Star Realm. They were the leaders of the 3 first-rate forces in Yi City. Cheng Batian was also among them. At this moment, he was looking at the entrance of the valley with a solemn expression, deep in thought. Guan Changhong, you said that there's a formation outside the valley. How do you know? After pondering for a moment, Cheng Batian also looked at the black-robed old man beside him. The black-robed old man's eyes were sinister and his forehead was full of wrinkles. He was the head of the Golden Rainbow Escort Service, Guan Changhong, one of the famous high-level experts in Yi City. Cheng Batian, could it be that the more you cultivate, the more confused you become? Do you think that the tomb left behind by a Martial Master Realm expert would not have a formation defense and allow others to disturb your peace in the future? In the face of Cheng Batian's questioning, the black-robed old man named Guan Changhong sneered and said indifferently. It seemed that he had always been at odds with Cheng Batian, and his tone was playful. You old man, how dare you make fun of me? As soon as Guan Changhong's voice fell, Cheng Batian's expression changed slightly, and anger vaguely appeared on his face. Hey, 2 brothers, don't lose your harmony. Right now, the most important thing is to find a way to break the formation outside the valley. It's not good to fight among ourselves first. Just when Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong were staring at each other and were about to start a fight, a faint laughter slowly came from the side. Then, they saw a middle-aged man in a yellow robe step forward. At the same time, He channeled the origin power in his palm and gently separated the two, thus avoiding a fight. Yin Xian, this time I'll give you face and not argue with this old man. Seeing this scene, Chung Batian snorted and ignored Guan Changhong. Since Brother Yin has said so, then I'll respectfully accept. With a cold smile, Guan Changhong knew that he was disappointed. Then, he flicked his sleeves and turned to the side, ignoring Chung Batian's clamor. At the same time, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. Although the Chung family and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service were both first-rate forces in Yi City, the two families had always been at odds with each other. Moreover, the hatred between them was not small. This was also the reason why Chung Batian and Guan Changhong had a falling out. If it was not for the appearance of the ancient ruins, the two of them would have already started fighting. Even the middle-aged man in the yellow robe would not be able to stop them. That's good. Seeing Chung Batian and Guan Changhong stop fighting, the middle-aged man in the yellow robe grinned. However, that smile was somewhat chilling. This guy is still so hypocritical. Glancing at the middle-aged man in the yellow robe from the corner of his eye, Chung Batian snorted in his heart and looked at the valley in front of him again. The middle-aged man in the yellow robe in front of him was called Yun Xian. He was the current head of the Yun family. His origin power cultivation had also reached the high star realm, and he was quite powerful. He was even stronger than Chung Batian and Guan Changhong. Chung Batian and Guan Changhong were both at the first level of the high star realm, while Yun Xian's cultivation had already reached the second level of the high star realm. Overall, he had the upper hand. It was because of Yun Xian's strength that Chung Batian and Guan Changhong gave him some face. The reverse was also true. Although Yun Xian had the upper hand in terms of strength against Chung Batian and Guan Changhong, it was still very difficult for him to kill the two. After all, there was only a difference of one level between them. The two of them had also experienced hundreds of battles and were not to be trifled with. Chapter 116. Not far away from the valley, Chung Zhouquan and Fei Ren's figures slowly appeared in the Chung family's group. Brother Fei, I didn't expect the owner of this ancient tomb to have set up a formation, as expected of a martial master. If it wasn't for a rogue cultivator who accidentally entered this place a few days ago, I'm afraid the secret of this ancient tomb would continue to be buried. Retracting his gaze, he saw Chung Zhouquan's expression filled with emotion. At the same time, he looked at Fei Ren beside him. For this trip to Qingfa Mountain, the Chung clan could be said to have spent a lot of money and sent out a large number of people. Other than the clan head, Chung Batian, there was also a group of Middle Union Realm Imperial bodyguards. Among them, the one with the lowest cultivation was at Middle Union Realm 5th stage. Fei Ren and Chung Zhouquan were also present. That's right. Unless a martial master realm expert makes a move, it would be very difficult to break this formation alone. Hearing this, Fei Ren nodded deeply with a solemn expression. Although the power of the formation outside the valley had dissipated after the passage of time, the remaining power had not yet dissipated. Previously, there was a rogue cultivator who recklessly charged into the formation alone. In the end, he was killed by the formation's power. His entire body turned into a pool of blood. Not even his bones were left. It was quite shocking. The rogue cultivator's origin power cultivation base was at Zhanghe Realm level 7. He was about 30 years old and his strength was not bad. However, in the face of the formation outside the valley, he still had no resistance and was killed in an instant. It was because of this that the people of the three major forces gathered outside the valley, as well as the rogue cultivators, did not act rashly. Instead, they quietly waited in place, waiting for an opportunity to break the formation. I heard from Shenlan, that girl, before that there are different levels of formation masters. They're divided into 4 levels: heaven, earth, mystic, and yellow. Low, middle, and high. The formation in front of us is at least a high yellow rank formation. A Zhanghe realm martial artist would find it difficult to shake it. Looking at the entrance of the valley not far away, Fei Ren stroked his chin and fell into deep thought. At the entrance of the valley not far away, it was foggy at this moment, as if it was covered with a thin layer of white gauze, making it impossible to see the scene in the valley. At the same time, there were waves of invisible ripples in the air near the valley, which seemed to be the location of the array. Except for Cheng Batian, Guan Changhong, and Yun Xian, most of the people present were at the middle and high star realm. There were only one or two of them. However, they were all famous rogue cultivators. Of course, there were also some high star realm experts who were hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. Are you still not going to make a move? Other than the three of you, I don't think anyone else here can break the formation outside this valley. It's rare to see the masters of the three major forces of Yi City making a move together. Yun Xian is at the second level of the high star realm. Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong are both at the first level of the high star realm. If the three of them make a move together, they will definitely succeed in breaking the formation. At that time, the treasures in the ancient tomb will be at their fingertips. At this moment, as more and more martial artists arrived at the periphery of the valley, the atmosphere at the scene became more and more heated. Instead of discussing animatedly, everyone looked at Yun Xian and the others who were at the front of the crowd. Obviously, they were waiting for Yun Xian and the others to make a move to break the formation. My two brothers, there's no time to lose. Let's work together to break the formation. Yun Xian seemed to have noticed that more and more martial artists were gathering around the valley. He took a step forward and spoke. Yun Xian, I estimate that the formation here is quite powerful. Can the three of us really break it together? Although Yun Xian had made a suggestion, Cheng Batian was still a little worried. After all, he knew very well what kind of person the other party was. Yun Xian was extremely shrewd and shrewd. Ordinary people might be deceived by his smiling face, but Cheng Batian wouldn't. He had suffered a lot in front of him when he was young, so naturally, he had formed a habit of being cautious. Of course, as a second-level alchemist, I have dabbled a little in mental energy. Formation masters and alchemists come from the same source. The formation outside the valley is only at the high yellow rank. Moreover, it's been a long time, so its power isn't as strong as before. There's nothing to be afraid of. Brother Cheng, you're still too cautious. Now that the ancient tomb has appeared, why would I lie to you for the treasures inside? Facing Cheng Batian's caution, Yun Xian only smiled faintly and didn't think much of it. This guy. Under his sleeves, Cheng Batian secretly clenched his fists. His eyes widened, but he forced himself to suppress the anger in his heart. Although the Cheng family, the Yun family, and the Golden Rainbow Escort Service were known as the top three forces in Yi City, in terms of strength, the Yun family had the upper hand. There was no other reason. Yun Xian's cultivation base was slightly higher than Cheng Batian's and Guan Changhong's, and he was also a second-level alchemist. It went without saying how high the status of alchemists was in the martial world. It wasn't just in the Darchu dynasty. Even in the other regions, dynasties, and kingdoms, there wasn't a single power that would refuse the alliance of an alchemist, let alone offend them. Yun Xian, your mental strength is only in the first layer of the profound martial realm. Back then, you were lucky enough to refine a batch of second-level elixirs. Do you really think this old man doesn't know? Looking at Yun Xian's smiling face, Guan Changhong was also a little unhappy. He coldly said, as if he didn't want to let the other party steal the limelight. Brother Guan, you're exaggerating. Although my mental strength is only in the first layer of the profound martial realm, I'm still a genuine alchemist. I'm definitely better than some ordinary martial artists. Seeing Guan Changhong pouring cold water on him, Yun Xian's face turned cold. Then, he recovered his smile, but his tone became a little cold. The meaning behind his words was self-evident. Alchemists were different from ordinary martial artists. Alchemists mainly cultivated mental strength. As for Yuan Li, it was only secondary. The stronger the mental strength, the higher the alchemist's ability to refine pills. The mental strength realm was also known as the profound martial realm. The profound martial realm was divided into 9 layers. Breaking through each layer would greatly increase the mental strength of an alchemist. Moreover, the strength of an alchemist wasn't inferior to a martial artist. Back then, when Fei Ren met Shenlong in the Forgotten Worry Valley, she was a 4th-level alchemist. Her mental strength was in the 4th layer of the profound martial realm. Although the patriarch of the Yun family, Yun Xian, had a powerful Yuanli cultivation, his mental strength realm wasn't that great. He was only in the 1st layer of the profound martial realm and could only refine some 1st-level elixirs. As for 2nd-level elixirs, it was all down to luck. Just like what Guan Changhong said, he was only able to refine 2nd-level elixirs by luck. This was also the reason why Yin Xian was so angry. Cut the crap. Since you're so confident, let's break the array together to avoid new problems. Cheng Batian by the side snorted softly and spoke in a carefree manner, seemingly unwilling to waste his breath on Yun Xian. When a high yellow rank array was at its peak, its power was enough to kill any martial artist below the high star realm. Even high star realm martial artists didn't dare to rashly break into the array. However, the array outside the valley was very old. Its power had long since faded. It could only deal with some middle and high star realm martial artists, which was very limited. It was because of this that Yun Xian was so confident. Otherwise, if they encountered a high yellow rank array at its peak, even if the 3 of them joined forces, they might not be able to break it. If they were unlucky, they might even lose their lives. Chapter 117. Then let's attack together. With a cold snort, Yun Xian took the lead. He flew into the air and swung his arm. Surging essence power condensed into a sky-blue light ball in his palm. Lightning snakes flickered in the middle of the light ball. He seemed to be a martial artist proficient in the power of lightning. Concept of lightning. Not far away, Fei Ren's pupil shrank as he saw Yun Xian's imposing manner. He was shocked. He could feel that the power of the origin energy light ball in Yun Xian's palm was not ordinary. It was filled with berserk thunder snakes that could tear apart any middle unity martial artist in a matter of minutes. It seemed to be mixed with a mysterious concept power. No, it's just the embryonic form of the concept. Father once said that the Yun family's head, Yun Xian, is very powerful and has a deep grasp of the power of lightning. However, he has yet to truly condense the concept of lightning. Otherwise, even if Father and Guan Changhong worked together, they would not be a match for Yun Xian. On the side, just as Fei Ren finished speaking, Cheng Zhouquan shook his head. He seemed to have a good understanding of Yun Xian's strength. His face still had a lingering fear. Concept was a mysterious power that could only be comprehended by martial artists and geniuses with extraordinary talent. There were many kinds of concepts in the world. Among them, the 5 elements concept was the most common. Some special concepts had unknown abilities. On the Black Star continent, there were many martial artists who had comprehended the concept. However, there were not many who could exert the power of the concept to the limit. Most of the martial artists' mastery of the concept remained at the embryonic form and could not break through in their lifetime. Moreover, the levels of the concept were usually divided into 4 levels: embryonic form, small success, large success, and perfection. Every breakthrough in the level would greatly increase the martial artist's overall strength. Its importance was no less than cultivation methods, spirit treasures, and martial arts. Although Yun Xian had only comprehended the embryonic form of the concept, his strength was not to be underestimated. Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong alone were not a match for him. They could only contend against him if they worked together. This was also the reason why the Yun family could be the leader of the 3 major forces in Yi City. It was all because of Yun Xian's powerful strength. Yun Xian's embryonic form of the concept of lightning deepened again. Could it be that this guy is about to break through to small success? Cheng Batian also flew into the air. He circulated the essence power in his body with a cautious expression. Although he could not fly, he could not fly. Yun Xian, Guan Changhong, and the others could stay in the air for a short while. Yun Xian, attack together. Break the formation. Beside him, Guan Changhong was also ready to attack. At the same time, he took out an ebony scepter from nowhere. The next moment, thousands of essence power burst out from the tip of the scepter. It instantly turned into a black waterfall and blasted toward the formation at the entrance of the valley. Thunderstorm, Heaven's Wrath Palm. When they saw Guan Changhong attack to break the formation, Yun Xian and Cheng Batian by the side naturally did not hesitate. They both blasted out ferocious attacks, and similarly blasted towards the formation at the entrance of the valley. Instantly, Yuan power fluctuations surged, and a gust of violent wind whistled in the surroundings. It was like a blade that blew against one's face until it hurt. Is this the strength of the experts of the Star Realm? 3 experts of the Star Realm breaking the formation together. This is a rare sight in Yi City. What a terrifying power of lightning. It seems that Yun Xian's strength has the upper hand. Just as Cheng Batian, Yun Xian, and the others were breaking the formation, the warriors gathered around them could not help but retreat. They seemed to be afraid of the remaining power of the essence power and did not dare to move forward. After all, their lives were more important. If they were accidentally injured by the remaining power of the 3 people's attacks and the formation, it would not be worth it to lose their lives. Bang! Rumble! Rumble! 3 different elemental energy attacks tore through the sky and finally fiercely struck the array at the entrance of the valley. Immediately, a deafening roar resounded for hundreds of kilometers. At the same time, violent ripples appeared on the surface of the array, and traces of clearly visible cracks appeared on it. The formation is about to break. Everyone was slightly surprised. Then they exclaimed, "Crack!" The cracks on the formation grew bigger and bigger. Then they spread in all directions. It was as if it was on the verge of collapse. It is indeed an advanced yellow rank formation, 7 stars origin formation. The power of the other 6 formation eyes has been exhausted. There is only 1 formation eye left. There is nothing to be afraid of. Seeing this, Yun Xian, who was originally expressionless, laughed loudly. It seemed that he had already seen through the formation. 7 stars origin formation? Hearing this, Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong looked at each other. They were both surprised and doubtful. Compared to their knowledge of alchemy and formations, they were not as skilled as Yun Xian. Naturally, they were skeptical of Yun Xian's deduction. That's right. The 7 stars origin returning formation is a famous defensive formation among yellow rank formations. It's famous for setting up 7 formation eyes at the same time. Each formation eye is a corner of the formation, forming an offensive and defensive formation. If the 7 stars origin returning formation was at its peak state, even a high-star realm martial artist would have to suffer grievances against it. Also, destroying 1 formation eye will not affect the power of the 7 stars origin formation much. Only by destroying the other 6 formation eyes can the formation be completely destroyed. Laughing lightly, Yun Xian had a playful look on his face. In the next moment, streaks of lightning snakes appeared in his palm again. Brother Guan, Brother Cheng, the 7 stars origin formation is on the verge of collapse. Only our last attack is left. Then let's do it. Without wasting time, if the formation could not be broken, no one would be able to obtain the opportunity inside. Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong knew this very well. Boom! In midair, Yun Xian, Cheng Batian, and Guan Changhong launched another wave of attacks. In an instant, their origin power surged and hit the tottering 7 stars origin formation. In the next moment, it completely exploded, and the aftershock shook the sky. Rumble. After a breath, the 7 stars origin formation guarding the entrance of the valley completely collapsed and gradually turned into nothingness. The valley that was originally shrouded in fog finally appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The inside of the valley was pitch black, and the outside was overgrown with weeds. It was very desolate and strange. The depths of the valley seemed to be connected to a certain place. It was the entrance to the ancient tomb. The formation is broken. Look, It's the entrance to the ancient tomb. If we can obtain the opportunity inside, even if it's just a part of it, we will have a meteoric rise and our strength will increase greatly. Now that the 7 Stars origin formation was broken, the crowd of warriors who had gathered outside the valley was completely stirred up. In an instant, the atmosphere was heated and there was a hubbub of voices. The word greed was written on almost everyone's face. The most primitive human nature was revealed at this moment. Brother Fei, the formation is broken. Let's kill our way in. At this moment, Cheng Zhouquan also rubbed his palms together and looked at Fei Run with a burning gaze. Compared to the others, Fei Run was a ruthless character. That day, he even dared to kill the disciples of the 9th ranks of the great family's Lingjian school. He didn't believe that Fei Run wouldn't dare to do anything. Moreover, if he partnered with Fei Run, he would be more confident in fighting for the opportunity in the ancient tomb. In Cheng Zhouquan's mind, Fei Ren's strength was at least twice as valiant as Yun Tong of the Yun family and Guan Suo of the Golden Rainbow Escort Service. Among the younger generation of the 3 great influences in Yi City, he was almost unrivaled. Yun Tong was the young master of the Yun family. His strength was above Cheng Zhouquan's, and he was a martial artist at the 9th level of the Middle Union realm. Guan Suo was the eldest son of the Golden Rainbow Escort Service's great leader, Guan Chang'an. His strength was also not weak. His origin force cultivation had reached the 8th level of the Middle Union realm, which was on par with Cheng Zhouquan. If he hadn't seen Fei Ren fight a group of armored crocodiles alone in the foggy swamp and killed several of them, Cheng Zhouquan wouldn't have dared to imagine that there was such a valiant loose practitioner like Fei Run in the vicinity of Yi City. Chapter 118. The entrance to the ancient tomb is right there. Everyone can obtain such an opportunity. Charge! At this moment, someone in the crowd shouted a few more times. In the next moment, the crowd of martial artists gathered around the valley became restless. Then, countless martial artists swarmed towards the entrance of the ancient tomb like a swarm of locusts. The scene was magnificent. This bunch of bandits, seeing the group of martial artists rushing into the ancient tomb with no way to stop them, Cheng Zhouquan's face froze. The 7 Stars origin array was broken by the combined efforts of the 3 major forces of Yi City. How could he let these rogue martial artists take the initiative? No hurry, wait a moment. Reaching out his hand to stop them, Fei Ren also looked at Cheng Zhouquan and shook his head. Although the concept of the entrance to the ancient tomb had appeared, no one knew if there were any dangers inside. Now that there were martial artists everywhere in the valley, it was undoubtedly better to let these people scout the way. Moreover, Fei Ren was not the only one with this idea. Yin Xian, Cheng Batian, and Guan Chang'an were the same. Even the Cheng family, Yun family, and Golden Rainbow Escort Services team did not take action. They only watched as the large number of martial artists swarmed into the ancient tomb and disappeared. Quan Er, little brother Fei Ren. Now that the formation of the ancient tomb has been broken, it's time to move. At this moment, Cheng Batian also flew to the front of the Cheng family's team with a determined look on his face. Seeing that the rogue martial artists who swarmed into the ancient tomb were not attacked, it meant that there was no danger at the entrance of the ancient tomb. Therefore, he was more confident in his heart. Moreover, if they were late, the opportunity in the ancient tomb would be snatched away. At that time, they would not even have the leftovers to drink. It seems that there's indeed no danger. Nodding his head, Fei Ren dispelled his worries. Let's go. With a leap, Cheng Batian also flew towards the entrance of the ancient tomb. A group of Cheng family guards, Cheng Zhouquan, and Fei Ren followed closely behind. Their figures disappeared into the ancient tomb. Let's go. On the other side, seeing that the Cheng family had entered the ancient tomb without being attacked, Yun Xian also waved his hand and led the Yun family's team into the ancient tomb. Their figures disappeared in an instant. Father, the Cheng family and Yun family have entered the ancient tomb. Guan Changhong stood at the front of the Goldbao Escort Agency's group, and he had a gloomy expression as he leaned on a green wooden cane. Beside him stood a black-robed young man with delicate features. Shockingly, it was his eldest son, the young master of the Golbao escort agency, Guan. Is the tomb left behind by a martial master realm expert really so simple? Faced with Guan Sua's reminder, Guan Changhong's face was filled with doubt. He seemed to be overly cautious. However, the greed in his heart dispelled his worries. He then shouted, "Everyone, listen to my orders. Immediately enter the tomb. Those who find the opportunity will be greatly rewarded. If anyone steals the opportunity, kill without mercy." Inside the ancient tomb, on a desolate plain. Swoosh! Suddenly, a spatial crack was torn open in the sky. In the next moment, a gray figure fell from it. After that, the figure landed firmly on the ground, causing a circle of airwaves. Strange, there is a formation in this ancient tomb. The gray figure looked around with surprise in his eyes. A handsome face was revealed. It was Fei Run, who had entered the ancient tomb not long ago. Beyond Fei Ren's imagination, there was a formation in this ancient tomb. Originally, he was traveling with the Cheng family. However, he did not expect that after entering the ancient tomb, he would be separated by a nameless formation. In the end, he landed here alone. Could it be that the cultivation of the master of this tomb was beyond the martial master realm? Could it be that he was a martial spirit realm expert? Looking at the vast, desolate plain in front of him, Fei Run rubbed his chin. His face was still filled with shock. To be able to set up layers of formations, and mysterious spatial formations at that, it meant that the master of this tomb had a high level of mental strength. Moreover, Fei Ren and the others were separated by the formation as soon as they entered the tomb. It was enough to show that the master of this tomb was powerful when he was alive. Cheng Zhouquan and the others are probably somewhere in this tomb. Forget it, it's more important to find the opportunity first. Recollecting his thoughts, Fei Ren also activated the traceless snow steps movement technique. At the same time, he flew towards the desolate plains not far away. Although he had left the Cheng family's team, Fei Ren did not mind. At least the secret of refining the Immortal Cauldron would not be exposed. Moreover, he could use his full strength without any scruples. With his current strength, as long as he did not encounter a high-star realm warrior, there was nothing to be afraid of. Swoosh! After hurrying along the desolate plain for a while, Fei Ren suddenly stopped and landed on a hillside. At the same time, he looked down the hillside and saw that there was an intense battle. Waves of energy spread out in all directions, and at the same time, there were bursts of explosions. Ice Bear? Narrowing his eyes, Fei Ren's gaze fell on a demonic beast below the hillside. This demonic beast was huge, had a pair of sharp and thick claws, and its eyes were red. It was actually a white bear. At this moment, it was emitting a powerful magic wave that had reached the peak of the yellow rank. Damn it, why is this beast's skin so hard? Boss, what should we do? If we are delayed by this beast, then the opportunity in the ancient tomb will be snatched away by others. At this moment, there were several figures gathered around the white-haired bear. They seemed to be rogue cultivators. The leader was a man with a scar on his face, dressed in a gray robe. Furthermore, his elemental energy cultivation was not weak. He had reached the 8th level of the Middle Union realm, which was the same level as Fei Run. TSK. The Ice Bear is not that easy to deal with. Seeing the fierce battle between the rogue cultivators and the white-haired bear, Fei Run was not in a hurry to intervene. He only silently lurked at the side with a playful expression, as if he was planning to take advantage of the situation. The Ice Bear was a top-level yellow, rank demonic beast. It was famous for its snow-white fur, and its temperament was cruel and easy to anger. Moreover, its magic power contained a powerful ice attribute. If it was a weaker human warrior, he would be directly frozen into an ice stick by the Ice Bear and then shattered with a slap. Exhausted to death, with a loud shout, the man with a scar on his face blasted out another palm, attacking the Ice Bear's vital point in its abdomen. In an instant, his magic power swept out, and at the same time, it forced the ice bear's attack to retreat. His expression was solemn. At this moment, there were a total of 3 rogue cultivators surrounding the ice bear. Among them, the man with the scar on his face was called Lu Shui. As for the 2 beside him, they were his sworn brothers, Li Fei and Pang Jinda. The 3 of them were known as the 3 heroes of Yi City, and were considered rogue cultivators with some fame around Yi City. However, compared to Lu Shui, Li Fei and Pang Jinda's magic power cultivation was much weaker, only at the 6th level of the middle and high realm. If not for Lu Shui restraining most of the ice bear's attacks, the 2 of them would have been smashed into meat paste by the ice bear. Damn beast, I'm going to skin you alive. Second brother, third brother, this beast doesn't have much magic power left in its body. We can kill in a while. After forcing the ice bear's attack to retreat, Lu Shui also retreated, and then slowly landed in front of Li Fei and Pang Jinda with a fierce expression. Although they had entered the ancient ruins, Lu Shui and the others were a little unlucky. Not long after they entered, they were entangled by a top-level yellow rank ice bear. They were in the midst of a fierce battle and did not have the time to look for treasures or opportunities. Chapter 119. Give Boss a Chance. Seeing this, Li Fei and Pang Jinda looked at each other and circulated their origin power. At the same time, they tightened their grip on their weapons. Although their origin power cultivation was only at the 6th stage of the Middle Union realm, they were no match for the ice bear. Fortunately, Lu Shui, who was at the 8th stage of the Middle Union realm, was present. The ice bear would not be able to cause too much trouble. As long as the 2 of them could delay the ice bear's attack, they could easily kill it when its magic power was exhausted. Eat my axe. With a loud shout, Li Fei leaped toward the ice bear. At the same time, he raised his weapon high and slashed out a strong wind that was like a whirlwind. It was powerful and instantly attacked the ice bear's vital points. Roar. Letting out a furious roar, the ice bear retreated under Li Fei's strong wind attack. Its eyes were bloodshot. Although the ice bear's fur was thick and its defense was amazing, it could not withstand the continuous attacks of Lu Shui and the other 2. After all, the magic power in a demonic beast body was limited. Ah Fei, let me help you. Seeing Li Fei forcing the ice bear to retreat, Pang Jinda's confidence increased. He waved his weapon toward the ice bear and joined the battle at the same time. Beast, let's see where you can run to today. With Li Fei and Pang Jinda attacking from the side, Lu Shui sneered. It seemed that the ice bear in front of them could not escape and would definitely die. Roar. Perhaps it realized that Lu Shui and the others were difficult to deal with. The ice bear let out a low roar and waved its claws to force Lu Shui and the others to retreat. In the next moment, it turned around and ran toward the other side of the hill, intending to escape. Beast, trying to run? Seeing the ice bear turn around and flee, Lu Shui's eyes also widened in anger. He also leaped forward, intending to block its path of retreat. 5 Mountain King, capturing palm. Suddenly, a clear shout sounded out in midair. In the next moment, the fleeing ice bear was heavily sent flying by a vast palm of origin energy. After that, the beast's body fell to the ground. The fur on its abdomen was torn apart, and blood flowed out incessantly. It struggled for a few moments before it stopped moving, and its aura was completely gone. Who are you? Seeing that the ice bear had been killed in one hit, Lu Shui, who had been chasing after the ice bear relentlessly, also froze. Then his face turned pale. To be able to kill a top-tier yellow, rank demonic beast so easily, the person who came was definitely not weak. He might even have reached the high star realm. Big brother, look, there's someone there. Li Fei and Pang Jinda were dumbfounded when they saw the ice bear dying on the spot. It took them a few breaths before they came back to their senses. They then turned their heads to look at the top of the hill, their fingers trembling slightly. Yo, how are you? Seeing that Lu Shui and the rest were looking in his direction, Fei Ren grinned and waved his hand in greeting. Originally, he had planned to wait for Lu Shui and the rest to fight to the death with the ice bear. However, he did not expect this beast to be so intelligent. It turned around and ran when it could not defeat the ice bear. In order to prevent the prey from escaping, Fei Ren had no choice but to kill it. Middle Unity Stage 8. Sensing that Fei Ren's origin energy aura was not weaker than his, Lu Shui's face turned serious. If the other party could kill the ice bear in one hit, he could also easily deal with them. Hence, he did not dare to be careless. Big brother, what should we do? Li Fei and Pang Jinda also knew that Fei Ren's strength was not ordinary. Pang Jinda and Li Fei also came over with panicked expressions. Although they were known as the three heroes of Yi City, the only one who was truly strong was Lu Shui. Now that Fei Ren had appeared out of nowhere and was so strong that even Lu Shui could not compare to him, they naturally could not remain calm and were extremely frightened. Your Excellency's martial arts are good. Since this ice bear was killed by you, we naturally do not dare to covet it. We will leave now. After hesitating for a few breaths, Lu Shui finally cupped his hands and spoke while gritting his teeth. He seemed to have decided to give up the fight for the ice bear's corpse and retreat. Although the ice bear's corpse was very valuable, and there was a chance of it producing a monster core, Fei Ren's sudden appearance made him tremble with fear. He did not have the heart to fight for the prey, and only wanted to protect his own life. Wait! Seeing that Lu Shui and the rest were planning to escape, Fei Ren softly shouted to stop them. In the next instant, he activated his traceless snow steps movement technique and arrived in front of Lu Shui and the rest in an instant. At the same time, he cut off their escape route. You can leave if you want, but leave your belongings behind. Crossing his arms, Fei Ren's handsome face revealed a trace of craftiness. It was not easy to meet other martial artists in the ancient ruins, so he naturally wanted to get as much as he could. If the other party did not give him anything, he did not mind killing them. Hearing this, Lu Shui's expression changed slightly and there was a hint of anger. Although he had guessed that Fei Ren wouldn't let them go so easily, he couldn't hide the anger in his heart. After all, it wasn't easy for the three heroes of Yi City to force an ice bear into a desperate situation. In the end, not only did they end up benefiting someone else, they even had to pay with their own belongings. Your Excellency, don't push your luck. Although we, the three heroes of Yi City, do not make enemies with others, we are not easy to bully. Looking at Fei Ren, Lu Shui also activated his Yuan power and said while gritting his teeth. He looked like he was going to cut off all means of retreat. Big brother. Seeing Lu Shui's face turn red, as if he was angry, Li Fei and Pang Jinda also understood and also got into a battle stance. They looked at Fei Ren with eyes full of caution and fear. The three heroes of Yi City? I've never even heard of you. Fei Ren grinned. Facing Lu Shui and the others who were glaring at him, Fei Ren was a little disdainful. He still said calmly, "The three of you are not my opponents. If you don't want to die, hand over your spirit rings and get the hell out of here." Die! At the end of his words, a terrifying, murderous aura suddenly surged out of Fei Ren's body. It was like an invisible force field had swept out, instantly causing Lu Shui and the others to take a few steps back. Their faces were full of shock. If it was in the past, he would most likely kill them directly. However, Fei Ren's mentality had changed. He wanted to fight with the strong more. Not only did he not feel anything when he killed some weak warriors, even if he used the divine refining cauldron to refine and absorb them, it would not increase his Yuan power cultivation by much. Therefore, he gave Lu Shui and the others a chance to live instead of directly killing them. However, if Lu Shui and the others didn't know what was good for them, then Fei Ren wouldn't mind adding a few more lives to his hands. After all, every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Your Excellency's strength is extraordinary. We are naturally not your match. Goodbye. Perhaps it was because he was frightened by the murderous aura on Fei Ren's body. Lu Shui was completely discouraged. He did not dare to resist anymore. He immediately took out his spirit ring and threw it at Fei Run. In the next moment, he turned around and ran away in a hurry. "Big brother, wait for us." Seeing this scene, Li Fei and Pang Jinda were also panicking. They threw away their spirit rings and ran away at the same time, not daring to look back. 3 intermediate spirit rings and an ice bear's corpse. Not bad. Reaching out to pick up the spirit rings left behind by Lu Shui and the others, Fei Ren smiled slightly. He did not deliberately chase after Lu Shui and the others who were running away. Chapter 120. Although these guys are rogue cultivators, I didn't expect them to be so rich. Looking into the spirit ring space, Fei Ren found that there were quite a lot of primordial stones in there as well. There were about 50 to 60,000 primordial stones in total in the 3 medium-grade spirit rings. Although they were only inferior-grade primordial stones, it was still quite a fortune. Other than the primordial stones, Lu Shui and the other spirit rings also contained some martial arts and cultivation methods. However, their grades were very low. The highest was only level 2. Fei Ren didn't care about them at all, so he threw them all into the corner of the spirit ring space. With Fei Ren's current strength, other than spirit treasures, martial arts, and cultivation methods below level 4 could not help him much. He didn't care about them either, unless they were some unique martial arts and cultivation methods. After all, there were 3,000 martial arts in the vast universe. On the Black Star continent, other than the common offensive and defensive martial arts and cultivation methods, there were also some auxiliary martial arts and cultivation methods. For example, the Black Tortoise Immortality scripture that Fei Ren was currently cultivating belonged to this category. After cultivating the Black Tortoise Immortality scripture to perfection, not only could it condense a silver armor on the surface of the warrior's skin, but it could also greatly enhance the warrior's self-healing ability. It was a rare martial arts that combined both defensive and auxiliary martial arts. After putting the corpse of the ice bear into the spirit ring's space, Fei Ren continued to walk into the depths of the ancient tomb ruins. However, the size of the ancient tomb ruins in front of him was beyond his imagination. It was like a place isolated from the outside world. There were vast plains and towering mountains everywhere, and he couldn't see the end of it. Who is the owner of this ancient tomb ruins? To be able to isolate such a large place from the outside world and use it as his own burial ground. His body flew across the plains and then slowly landed on a cliff. Fei Ren's face gradually became serious. For some reason, he had a feeling that the ancient tomb ruins under his feet were not as simple as it seemed. Something big would happen soon. Whatever I should cultivate first. Raising his head to look at the sky, Fei Ren realized that the sky was gradually turning dark. Fei Ren gave up on the idea of continuing his journey. Compared to the daytime, the wilderness at night was even more dangerous. Some magical beasts were nocturnal, and there was no lack of powerful high-level magical beasts. The situation of this ancient tomb was unknown, and with the sudden influx of a large number of martial artists and loose cultivators, it would definitely cause a commotion among the magical beasts in the ancient tomb, and a bloody battle was inevitable. Along the way, in addition to Lu Shui and the others, Fei Ren also saw many cultivators and demonic beasts fighting fiercely. Some of the weaker cultivators even became food for the demonic beasts, dying tragically on the spot without even seeing the shadow of the ancient tomb. After nightfall, the show has just begun. Sitting cross-legged, Fei Ren took out a large number of inferior-grade vitality stones from his spirit ring. Then, he smashed them with his palm and started to operate the Black Tortoise Longevity Scripture to absorb the large amount of vitality stones. He was not a fool. He knew that the dangers of this ancient tomb did not only come from the magical beasts, but also from the fights between human cultivators. In the end, there were very few people who could truly obtain the inheritance of the ancient tomb master. Or it could be said that other than the 3 forces of Yi City, the rest of the independent martial artists would only be able to get some scraps at most. They wouldn't be able to compete for the inheritance of the ancient tomb. At best, they would be cannon fodder for the three forces of Yi City and would only die in vain. Phew! Fei Ren gently spat out a mouthful of turbid air. As the last piece of inferior-grade vitality stone turned into powder, the rising vitality fluctuations on his body stopped abruptly. However, he still needed about one-third of his vitality to break through. If he were to simply absorb inferior-grade vitality stones, he would need at least 50,000 of them. 50,000 inferior-grade origin stones were equivalent to 500 low-grade origin stones. As his cultivation base continued to rise, the amount of origin energy Fei Ren needed to break through was also increasing. If it were an ordinary 8th stage, middle union stage martial artist, 50,000 inferior-grade origin stones would be sufficient for him to break through. However, this was only one-third of what he needed. I wonder if I can break through after absorbing the ice bear's demonic core. Although he did not have any vitality stones on him, Fei Ren still had the corpse of an ice bear in his hands. Moreover, he was very lucky. This ice bear's corpse contained a demonic core, and it was a rare ice attribute demonic core. The demonic core contained more vitality than ordinary demonic cores. The ice bear was a peak yellow ranked demonic beast when it was alive, and its strength was comparable to a 10th stage middle union realm martial artist. If Fei Ren could absorb the ice bear's demonic core, there was a high chance that he could break through and step into the 9th stage middle union realm. Let's give it a try. With the immortal refining divine cauldron in his hands, there was nothing in the world that Fei Ren could not refine. The only possibility was that the difference in cultivation base was too great, and the immortal refining divine cauldron could not unleash its full power. However, refining a mere peak yellow ranked demonic core was a piece of cake for the current Fei Ren. Swish! Raising his hand to summon the immortal refining divine cauldron, Fei Ren took out the ice bear's demonic core from his spirit ring and threw it into the immortal refining cauldron. Boom, boom! The origin energy in his hands turned into balls of flames that wrapped around the immortal refining divine cauldron. Under the control of Fei Ren's mind, the immortal refining divine cauldron buzzed and trembled. Then, a spiritual light flickered and wisps of green smoke came out. It seemed to be refining the ice bear's demonic core. Boom! After a quarter of an hour, the immortal refining divine cauldron shook violently. The next moment, a snow-white ball of light gushed out from the mouth of the cauldron. The snow-white ball of light was crystal clear and exuded a gentle aura. It was completely natural, and the pure energy it contained was not even comparable to a grade 3 elixir. The immortal refining cauldron is indeed powerful. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren was overjoyed. Ever since he accidentally picked up the immortal refining divine cauldron in the mass grave, he knew that his life path would change. This continent, and even this world, would tremble because of him in the future. Just a little more. In 3 days, I will definitely break through to the 9th level of the Middle Unity Realm. After swallowing the snow-white ball of light, Fei Ren's expression was somewhat lingering. He could clearly feel that his Dantian's origin energy was almost overflowing. He was only one step away from breaking through. At night, the earth fell into darkness. Rumble, rumble. Suddenly, a commotion came from the wasteland not far away. The next moment, the earth trembled. Even the cliff peak Fei Ren was on was affected. It shook faintly as if an earthquake was coming. The sudden movement also broke Fei Ren's sleep. He looked over when he heard the sound. Then, his pupils shrank and his face froze. Black shadows. A large number of black shadows were attacking this place. They were densely packed and fast, like locusts passing through. The scene was shocking. The tremors from the wasteland came from this. Beast tide. Fei Ren's gaze flashed across the vast number of black shadows. His heart trembled. Although it was dark, he could see very clearly that the large number of black shadows in front of him was not something. They were living devil beasts. Moreover, it was not just 1 or 2 devil beasts, but a large group of devil beasts. It was undoubtedly a beast tide. Damn it, I forgot about this. Faerun stepped lightly on the ground. The next moment, he used traceless snow steps and jumped down the mountain peak. He rushed to the other side of the wasteland. There was a mountain range and dense forest there that could help him avoid the impact of the beast tide. At night, the earth was not only vigilant against the attacks of devil beasts, but the occasional beast tide was also dangerous. The cliff peak before him was only a lone ridge. It could not withstand the impact of the beast tide. Therefore, Faerun had no choice but to escape. Moreover, he had no other choice but to flee in the face of the beast tide. After all, it wasn't just one or two demonic beasts, it was a whole group of demonic beasts. Even a high-level Star Realm Master would have to flee at the sight of such a terrifying group of demonic beasts. Chapter 121. Fleeing along the wasteland, Faerun also took the opportunity to hide in a dense forest under the cover of the night. I should be out of the beast tide's range. Faerun's figure quietly hid on a treetop. His gaze was also looking at the wasteland in the distance, only to see that the large black shadow was still wreaking havoc on the wasteland, after which it gradually surged into the distance. The scene was still as frightening as ever. I didn't expect that there would be so many bloodthirsty ash wolves living in the ancient ruins. Moreover, it's an entire beast tide, at least 100 of them. Fortunately, I ran quickly, otherwise there would be nothing left of me. Faerun's throat trembled slightly. In the next moment, he also retracted his gaze, a trace of lingering fear on his face. The bloodthirsty ash wolf was a kind of top yellow, rank magical beast. It was cruel and bloodthirsty, and its magic fluctuation was no different from the ice bear that he had killed before. However, the bloodthirsty ash wolf liked to move in groups and would not hunt alone, so it was even more dangerous. If it was an ordinary high-star realm martial artist, it would be easy to deal with a dozen bloodthirsty ash wolves. But if it was hundreds of bloodthirsty ash wolves, even the masters of Yi City's 3 first-rate forces, as strong as Yin Xian, Cheng Batian, and Guan Changhong, would have to die on the spot. After all, a martial artist's origin power was limited. Once their origin power was exhausted, they would only be left with their flesh and blood. Apart from some martial artists who cultivated their bodies, fighting against magical beasts with their flesh and blood would usually end up in a miserable state. There was a high chance that they would become the magical beast food. The large black shadow in front of him was the migrating bloodthirsty ash wolves. Because the moon was dark and the wind was strong, and the bloodthirsty ash wolves were the type of magical beasts that lived in groups during the day and came out at night, it was not strange that it caused a disturbance in the beast tide. Moreover, Faerun's current origin power was extremely powerful, comparable to a high-level Star Realm expert. Therefore, he was able to discover the signs of the bloodthirsty ash wolves' invasion at the first moment and escape. Otherwise, he would have fallen into danger. At this moment, a shrill scream suddenly came from the forest in the mountain range, causing Faerun's expression to change slightly. Origin power. Powerful origin power fluctuation, and he did not detect it at all. This meant that the person's strength was far above his. Boom! After the blood-curdling scream, a black figure in a sorry state also fled from the dense forest. His face was filled with terror, and he would turn his head to look behind him from time to time, as if there was some terrifying demon chasing after him. The next moment, his figure staggered and actually fell to the ground by accident. The black figure was a man with a sallow complexion and a goatee. His origin power cultivation was not weak and had already reached the 10th stage of the Middle Union realm. However, at this moment, his face was covered in blood and his eyes were filled with terror. He did not have the demeanor of an expert at all and was like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. Don't kill me. Spare my life." Turning his head to look at the dense forest behind him, the man with the goatee spoke in a trembling voice, his body trembling like a sieve. Whoosh! There was no response from the forest. In the next moment, a sharp origin energy blade cut through the air and stabbed into the man's chest, instantly piercing through his heart. Large amounts of blood splattered out, and the man's voice came to an abrupt end. His body fell to the ground with a plop, and he couldn't be more dead. Duh. Seeing this scene, Fei Rin's figure stood rooted to the ground like a nail, not daring to move. An unfamiliar figure slowly walked out of the dense forest. "Ant, you still dare to run?" The unfamiliar figure was thin, and his voice was hoarse. He seemed to be a man, but at this moment, he was wearing a black cloak and a strange ghost mask that completely covered his face, revealing only a pair of empty and cold eyes. The aura around his body was astonishing, as if he was a death god that had returned from hell. Origin Energy Manifestation, High Star Realm. Seeing the mysterious masked man suddenly appear, Fei Rin's hands under his sleeves quietly clenched, his expression grave. The man with the goatee at the 10th stage of the Middle Union Realm had died after his heart was pierced by an Origin Energy blade. To be able to condense Origin Energy into a weapon, this method could only be used by warriors who had stepped into the High Star Realm. This also meant that the person's strength was at least above the High Star Realm. "God, you tricked me." With wolves in front and tigers behind, Fei Rin wanted to cry, but had no tears. He had finally gotten rid of the Beast Tide's attack with great difficulty, but he didn't expect to bump into the spearhead when he turned around. The current situation was critical. If he turned around and ran, there was a large group of blood-devouring ash wolves waiting for him outside the dense forest. If he didn't run, the mysterious masked man in front of him had a strange origin and profound strength. It would be difficult for him to deal with him. Oh, there's another ant. After killing the man with the goatee, the mysterious masked man finally noticed Fei run at the side. His cold gaze swept over. Seeing Fei Rin's posture as if he was facing a great enemy, he faintly revealed a trace of disdain. "Who are you?" While secretly circulating his origin energy, Fei Rin looked at the mysterious masked man in front of him and probed. His face was full of vigilance. Although he couldn't beat the mysterious masked man in front of him, he could still run. Now that he had cultivated the traceless snow steps movement technique to the realm of great success, coupled with his cultivation at the 8th stage of the Middle Union Realm, even a 1st stage High Star Realm warrior wouldn't be able to catch up to him if he used his full strength. There was still a slim chance of survival. "Are you going to die yourself, or do I have to do it myself?" Ignoring Fei Rin's question, the mysterious masked man gently stretched out his left hand. His slender palm was sickly pale, and his tone was still cold and emotionless. It was as if Fei Rin was already a person who was about to die and wasn't worth mentioning. "Goodbye, you." After secretly cursing, Fei Rin stomped his feet on the ground in the next moment. At the same time, his body leaped onto the treetops and fled in another direction in the dense forest. Although Fei Rin didn't want to run out of the wilderness and be eaten by devil beasts, he also didn't want to fight with the mysterious masked man in front of him. The masked man's strength was at least above the High Star Realm, and more than the 1st stage of the High Star Realm. The gap between the Middle Union Realm and the High Star Realm was not small. Fei Rin's chances of winning were not high. "Ant, you want to run?" Seeing Fei Rin turn around and run, the mysterious masked man snorted coldly and chased after him. Green Netherworld Palm. The mysterious masked man flung his cloak lightly. In the next moment, he raised his hand and blasted out a green Origin Energy Palm Chi. The Palm Chi had a skull wrapped around it. Its power was not inferior to Fei Rin's 5 Mountain King capturing palm. It was close to a level 4 martial art. Black Tortoise Armor. 5 Mountain King capturing palm. Facing the sudden attack of the mysterious masked man, Fei Rin didn't dare to be careless. With a thought, he immediately summoned the Black Tortoise Armor to cover the surface of his body. At the same time, he blasted out a 5 Mountain King capturing palm. At the same time, his protective origin energy was also activated to the limit at this moment. He attacked with all his strength. Facing the attack of a High Star Realm expert, Fei Rin also released all the origin energy in his body at this moment. He didn't dare to be careless at all. Bang! Boom! In just a short time, the green palm chi wrapped around the skull completely defeated the 5 Mountain King, capturing palm. Then, it landed heavily on Fei Ren's back and suddenly exploded. The protective origin energy dissipated on the spot. Even the incomparably sturdy black tortoise armor was completely shattered. Puff! His face suddenly turned red. After taking the powerful palm of the mysterious masked man head-on, Fei Ren suddenly spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. However, his speed didn't slow down at all. He was still fleeing into the depths of the dense forest. He didn't die. Seeing that Fei Ren still hadn't fallen after taking his palm head-on, the mysterious masked man narrowed his eyes. He seemed to be a little surprised. His cultivation was not an ordinary high-star realm expert. It was far above the high-star realm. He was an authentic first-level martial master expert. Not to mention that Fei Ren was only at the 8th level of the Middle Union realm. Even an ordinary high-star realm martial artist couldn't take his palm head-on. He would only be killed on the spot. Martial master realm. He had already stepped into the 3rd realm of the martial body, and his strength was worlds apart from that of the high-star realm. Even a casual strike from a martial master could easily kill any martial artist below the 5th level of the high-star realm. Fei Ren was only at the 8th level of the Middle Union realm. He hadn't even reached the high-star realm. However, he was able to take his palm head-on and continue to flee. This was also the reason why the mysterious masked man was very surprised. Chapter 122. This guy is dozens of times stronger than Yun Xian and Cheng Batian. I can't fight him head-on. Fei Ren's face became more and more serious after taking the hit. He didn't want to fight anymore because he knew he was no match for the mysterious masked man. After all, Cheng Batian and Guan Changhong were only at the 1st level of the star realm. Even Yun Xian was only at the 2nd level of the star realm. Fei Ren was confident that he wouldn't end up in such a sorry state, even if he couldn't defeat them. On the other hand, the masked man in front of him was able to break through several of his defenses with a casual strike. Fei Ren spat out a mouthful of blood. If it weren't for the fact that Fei Ren had already cultivated the Black Tortoise Immortality scripture to perfection, he wouldn't have been able to block the masked man's attack with just a 5 Mountain King capturing palm and his protective Yuan Qi. You can't escape. The mysterious masked man was getting closer and closer. His voice was cold, as if he was the god of death. Damn it, I can't die. If this guy catches up with me, everything will be over. Fei Ren did not turn back. Feeling the gradually approaching killing intent from behind, Fei Ren's face flushed red. He clenched his teeth, and in the next moment, he once again released all the Yuan power in his body without any regard for his life. His figure directly escaped into the dense forest. Under the cover of the night sky, he was like an extremely fast ghost. If he caught up with him, he would die. Even if Fei Ren had the immortal refining cauldron, it would be useless against a martial master. His cultivation base was too low, and he could not fully unleash the power of the immortal refining cauldron, let alone refine the mysterious masked man in front of him. Swoosh! At this moment, Fei Ren's traceless snow steps, which had been stagnant for a long time, unexpectedly made a breakthrough and reached perfection. After Fei Ren's traceless snow steps had reached perfection, his speed had also greatly increased. At full speed, he was comparable to a martial artist at the 3rd level of the star realm. Thus, he was able to reverse the situation and pull away from the mysterious masked man who was chasing after him. What? Seeing Fei Ren speed up again, the mysterious masked man was stunned for a moment. Although his origin power cultivation had reached the 1st level of the martial master realm, his speed was only average. He was no different from an ordinary martial artist of the 7th or 8th level of the star realm. Moreover, the night was boundless, so he couldn't use his full speed to chase after Fei Ren. Otherwise, he might attract the attention of some demonic beasts and get himself into trouble. After all, magic beasts moved more frequently at night. Just like the terrifying beast tide that Fei Ren had encountered before, there were hundreds of peak yellow rank bloodthirsty ashwolves. Just looking at that scene was enough to make one's heart tremble. Even if the mysterious masked man in front of him was a LV-1 martial master, it would take a lot of effort to kill a wave of beasts. If he was unlucky, he might even fail miserably. Bang! After spitting out a mouthful of saliva, the mysterious masked man also stopped chasing. His gaze was cold as he looked in the direction Fei Run had escaped until the other party's figure disappeared. "Ant, as long as you dare to stay in this ancient tomb, I will definitely kill you." As the night deepened, the mysterious masked man looked at the boundless forest below his feet with a fierce gaze. It seemed that he was still unwilling to accept the fact that Fei Run had escaped. After all, he was a LV-1 Martial Master Realm expert. If a junior of the 8th level of the Middle Union Realm escaped from his hands, he would lose a lot of face. If the information is correct, the things that the Lord left behind should be here. Let's get down to business first. As if recalling something, the mysterious masked man's eyes shot out a greedy light. In the next moment, he turned around and flew to the other side of the sky. At the same time, his figure disappeared into the boundless night. In a mountain range somewhere in the ancient tomb ruins, Fei Run, who had escaped for an unknown period of time, finally stopped and fell into the dense forest. He had narrowly escaped death. At this moment, Fei Run was in a very sorry state. He was panting. Not only was the origin power in his dantian depleted, but his back was also covered in wounds. A clear palm print could be seen on his back. It was left by the mysterious masked man's powerful palm. "Masked bastard, just you wait." After fiercely spitting out a mouthful of bloody phlegm, Fei Ren's face was ashen and extremely ugly. This was the first time he had been in such a sorry state. Even when he was fighting to the death with the Bloodblade sex leader, Chao Shun, he did not have such a deep sense of powerlessness. Although he did not know where the mysterious masked man came from, he was most likely here for the ancient tomb ruins. Moreover, he was not the last unlucky person. Among the martial artists who had entered the ancient tomb ruins, the strongest were Yun Xian, Chung Batian, and the others. However, against the mysterious masked man, even Yun Xian and the others would have to die on the spot. As for the remaining martial artists, they were all in the Middle Union realm. Some of them were even in the body refinement realm. In the eyes of the mysterious masked man, they could not withstand a single blow. That bastard is definitely in existence in the martial master realm. His origin power aura is much stronger than a high-star realm expert. I did not guess wrongly. The previous owner of the ancient tomb ruins was most likely a martial spirit realm expert. Leaning against a large tree, the surroundings were still silent. Fei Ren also took out a pitch-black elixir from his spirit ring. The next moment, he opened his mouth and swallowed it. At the same time, he began to circulate the black tortoise immortality scripture to heal his injuries. This elixir was given to him by Shanlan in the Forgotten Worry Valley. The Blood and Bone elixir was an authentic 4th-grade elixir that could heal injuries in a short period of time. Now, Fei Ren finally had a use for it. Even if I break through to the high-star realm, I am probably not this person's opponent. Who is this guy? Recalling the terrifying strength of the mysterious masked man, Fei Ren's face faintly showed a trace of fear. After a martial artist stepped into the martial master realm, not only would his physique be greatly strengthened, but his origin power would also undergo a qualitative change. He would gain the ability to fly and roam the sky. The mysterious masked man was a level 1 martial master realm expert. This was also the reason why he did not dare to confront the mysterious masked man directly. The two of them were not on the same level at all. Moreover, looking at the entire Dacha dynasty, even the current emperor Chu Tianyang had not stepped into the martial master realm. He was still of the high-star realm. This was enough to show the strength of the mysterious masked man. He was strong enough to destroy the entire Dachu dynasty alone. The Dacha dynasty was just a small dynasty in the corner of the southeastern region of the Black Star continent. Outside of the Dacha dynasty, there were many unknown powerful dynasties, hidden sects, and even huge empires. In the first moment of the fight, Fei Run determined that the mysterious masked man was a martial artist from outside of the Dacha dynasty. Moreover, he did not belong to any of the surrounding countries. Even the most powerful Dongling province in the surrounding regions definitely did not have such an expert. Otherwise, the Dacha dynasty would not have been able to survive for 100 years and would have been destroyed long ago. Is this what it feels like to be an ant trying to shake a tree? Fei Rin exhaled heavily. As the injuries on his body healed a little, color gradually returned to his face. He was no longer pale, but his expression was still solemn. Just now, when he took the mysterious masked man's palm head-on, it could be said that he had risked his life. If it were not for the sturdy defense of the black tortoise armor, he would probably end up like the man with the goatee. In the end, he could only be pierced through the heart meridian and die. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.